Chapter 0176. Baki looked at Gaara. Gaara, are you alright? It's alright. 95 Gaara shook her head, and her tone returned to indifference. Although still a little weak, the one tail in the body is no longer violent. Baki quickly said, I'm sorry, Hokage-sama this time. He remembered that the giant in black armor that Sarutobi Hiruzen had summoned with a knife just now, cut off one of Shikaku's arms with just one knife. In Sarutobi Hiruzen's information, there is never any record of this ability. Sarutobi Hiruzen's famous ninja weapon has always been a stick instead of a sword. Then there is only one explanation left for the knife that can summon the giant in black armor, and it came from a comic shop. That comic shop can not only reward tailed beasts, but also such weird knives, more and more, let him look forward to it. Sarutobi Hiruzen waved his hand and said with a light smile, it's just a misunderstanding, just solve it. It just so happens that I'm going to the comic store too, why don't we go together? Let's go. Baki was startled. He didn't want to go to the comic shop with Sarutobi Hiruzen. In case a few of you get any strategic reward, it is necessary to hide the information. But since the latter had already spoken, he couldn't refuse. Baki nodded and said, then I'll trouble Hokage-sama. Sarutobi Hiruzen and Baki walked in front, just chatting some nonsense about Kazekage's good body. Temari et followed. After a few words, Sarutobi Hiruzen took a puff of his pipe and said lightly, I already know about Orochimaru. Baki's movements froze obviously when he heard this. Although the flaw was fleeting, it was still caught by Sarutobi Hiruzen. Sarutobi Hiruzen can already confirm. Everything recorded in the manga is true, Sand Shinobi and Orochimaru have a plan against Konoha. However, in the comic plot, Orochimaru killed 4th Kazekage and disguised himself as 4th Kazekage to attend the Chunin exam, which is a bit strange. If 4th Kazekage really fully agrees with Orochimaru's plan, Orochimaru doesn't have to kill 4th Kazekage. Not only is there a lack of a cage-level collaborator, but also a complete fallout with Sand Shinobi, which is not worth the loss. The only explanation he could think of was that 4th Kazekage just wanted to take the opportunity to get some benefits from Konoha, not to assassinate himself. The assassination of Hokage is tantamount to provoking a war between the two nations of wind and fire. 4th Kazekage disagrees with Orochimaru on this point. Orochimaru will kill 4th Kazekage and issue orders to Sand Shinobi disguised as 4th Kazekage. That being the case, he could work with 4th Kazekage. Sarutobi Hiruzen turned to Baki with a smile on his face, and said, trust me, it won't do you any good. Sand Shinobi 5 Baki said solemnly, I don't know what Hokage-sama is talking about. Hehe. 35 Sarutobi Hiruzen laughed, it doesn't matter if you don't know. Just remember that Orochimaru is a man who will do anything to get his way. If your 4th Kazekage refuses some of his requests, he can become dangerous. Instead of cooperating with such a dangerous person, it is better to cooperate with Konoha. Baki said, Sand Shinobi and Konoha will always be the most solid partners. Although he spoke Mandarin, Baki's palms were already full of cold sweat. Sand Shinobi and Orochimaru's plan is a top secret, only Sand Shinobi's real executives know about it, and it is impossible to leak rumors. How did Hokage know? Now that Hokage already knows about this, then a few of them are in Konoha. Inside the comic shop. Wow! Zonghua is amazing. After reading the comics of Zonghua's little master, Zhang Pu's black eyes flashed with undisguised admiration, and she said enviously, the people there are so amazing, they have pursued cooking to the pinnacle, and I really want to taste it for myself. Try Chinese food. Such an amazing cooking technique. Such incredible cooking ideas. That is the real food town that every cook yearns for. Especially the last battle between the little boss and the leader of the dark cooking world, Guy Yu, made her feel terrified. Guy wanted to control the Queen Mother of the West with the 8 demon-breaking arrays, and then ruled Zonghua. At the desperate moment, the young master used the Great Wall as a pot, condensed the righteousness of the sun, created a golden sun ball, and broke Guy Yu's 8 magic-breaking arrays. She never dared to imagine that cooking could be so extraordinary. It was really fun to watch. At this time, system information refresh. Customer Iris has finished reading China's Little Master and obtained, How to make Ganges fried noodles. How to make fried noodles in the Ganges River, a pasta dish created by Lu Pingxing with the two themes of fried noodles and mainland heroes when he confronted Yakin again in the dark kitchen of Liang's Hanbo. One noodle is made from each of 108 different ingredients and then combined into a plate of gunga fried noodles. Every bite of gunga fried noodles tastes completely different, and is known as a noodle dish with unlimited taste. This dish symbolizes the past 108 generals of Liangshan, and also symbolizes that all Chinese people can be heroes. The dish is finished and comes with a glowing effect. Buzz one by one a brilliant light enveloped the calamus. In the light, Calamus felt a message gradually entering her mind. She seemed to have seen Lu Subaru making noodles with her own eyes, and the skills were amazing. The small noodles contained the cooking spirit of a Chinese chef. Oh, 0. The light dissipates. Calamus, who had the previous reward experience, opened his eyes, looked at Shen Ye, and said with surprise, "Shen Ye, my reward this time is also how to make pasta." "That's right, it's the Ganges chow mein." 35 Shen Ye said with a smile, "The pasta dish made by combining 108 different noodles will still shine." "Of course it is." The Calamus, who verified the guess in his heart, was excited. She was struck by this Ganges fried noodles while reading the manga. 108 noodles, each made from a different material. Every bite has a different taste and every bite has a different enjoyment. What kind of whimsy and cooking knowledge must this be to create magical dishes? The best part is that it glows just like in the comics. The iris is full of small stars. Now Ichiraku Ramen not only has traditional French seafood ramen with its own medicinal properties, but will soon add a glowing Ganges fried noodles, which will definitely become the #1 ninja dish in the ninja world. At that time, will he become the #1 pasta master in the ninja world? Hey. Just thinking about it makes me a little excited. Iris, have you picked up another pasta recipe? The hand who was reading the halberd manga raised his head and asked in surprise. Well, this time it's fried noodles. Ha, that's amazing. 35 feeling very relieved, he quickly looked down at the halberd manga that he was about to finish, and muttered, "It's a bit nutritious to read this manga, and I don't know how much nutrition the author needs to supplement when he draws the manga. I will drink more wolfberry when I go back." Door. Chapter 0177. In a few minutes, I also read The Spirit of Eating Halberds by Hand. A brilliant light fell. Both Shida and Ayam father and daughter showed expectant expressions. The light gradually dissipated. On the table, there is a brightly colored dish. Bright red fried salmon persimmon steak, served with fried green mountain vegetables, and a small bowl of golden mayonnaise. It looks appetizing. Not to mention, the devilish aroma that came from the cooking. It's fried persimmon with char. When the Calamus saw the cooking, her eyes lit up, and she said excitedly, "This is the cooking made by Kohira Soma. Wow, it looks delicious. I'll have a taste of what the food made by Soma Yukihira tastes like." He swallowed his saliva with his hands, picked up a piece of fried salmon steak with chopsticks, dipped it in mayonnaise and put it in his mouth, while closing the eyes of 063. Fish fillet entrance. The unparalleled delicacy bursts on the taste buds. Crispy on the outside, soft and warm on the inside. The quintessential flavor of the char is wrapped in the coating and concentrated on the inside. And because of the deliciousness of tomatoes, even the noodles are so delicious. Topped with a sauce made of mayonnaise and pepper sprouts. It feels like chew with hands and eyes closed. As if he had become a mermaid, slowly wandering in the clear and comfortable ocean. At this time, beautiful mermaid girls appeared one after another, chasing after themselves, surrounding themselves, and surrounding themselves. Handbeat is completely intoxicated. "Dame, there is, oh ho, how bad are you? Wow, little baby, what's under you? OMG. Lord Hokage." When he opened his eyes and saw Sarutobi Hiruzen's old face as black as the bottom of a pot, he was shocked and all woke up. Only then did he realize that his face was on Sarutobi Hiruzen. "I seem to have touched something on the mermaid girl just now, and now I think about it." With an embarrassed expression on his face, he said, "Lord Hokage, this dish is too strong, I can't control it." Sarutobi Hiruzen smiled and said, "It's all right, go do your own thing." "Yes." Handa hurriedly took his plate of fried persimmon broccoli with char, and left the comic shop with the Calamus. Before leaving, Calamus waved her hand and said with a smile, "Shen Ye, I will let you try the gunga fried noodles I made tomorrow." Shen Ye smiled, "Okay." Sarutobi Hiruzen walked directly to the cashier and said to Shen Ye, "Boss, how much money do we have in total?" "Lord Hokage, how can I let you spend money?" Beiki looked embarrassed. "You come all the way from Sand Shinobi, and of course I want to do a little bit of the landlord's friendship. Sarutobi Hiruzen laughed. Shen Ye looked at a few people and said, 5 people came for the first time, and 1 came for the 4th time, a total of 65,000 taels. Beiki smacked his tongue. A few people. This comic shop is as expensive as the newspaper says. The first time is 5,000 taels, and the price will double every time after that. If you watch it many times, I'm afraid it will cost hundreds of thousands or even millions of taels once. Sarutobi Hiruzen handed over the money and said to Beiki, I'll look for this manga first, you can do whatever you want. Sarutobi Hiruzen came to the bookshelf and saw the book Hokage Ninja, Part 1 with Naruto as the cover still on it. It is this comic that predicts the future of this world. And Naruto is the protagonist of this manga. Sarutobi Hiruzen picked up Hokage Ninja, upper with a solemn expression, and went to a quiet place to look. This one looks good. 35 Yamato chose Dopo Part 1 and sat down at any place. The 4 of Beiki looked at each other. Kankuro picked up Under One Person, Part 1 and said, I watch this, it feels very interesting. Boss, I read this book. Temari picked up Stunned, Part 1 and shook it at Shen Ye. Beiki looks at the only 4 manga books left on the shelf now, 8 Dragons. One Piece, Grand Line. And The Spirit of Eating Halberd, Part 1 and The Little Master of Zonghua which the father and daughter just finished watching. 6 Beiki hesitated and chose Dragon Babu. Gaara looked indifferently at the remaining 3 comics. In fact, there is no choice. He has no interest in food and can only choose the One Piece, Grand Line. Gaara took the One Piece manga and sat alone in the corner. Sarutobi Hiruzen opened the Hokage manga with a somewhat fluctuating heart. The manga begins as Iruka tells it. From Naruto's stealing of the Forbidden Technique Scroll, to the mission to the Land of Waves, to the Chunin exam jointly organized by Konoha and Sand Shinobi. Naruto uses seduction and Jiraiya to learn summoning. Sarutobi Hiruzen could tell at a glance that Jiraiya was deliberately approaching Naruto. Naruto is the widow of 4th Hokage Namikaze Minato's husband and wife, and Namikaze Minato's teacher is Jiraiya, and even the name Naruto is given by Jiraiya. How could Jiraiya's character not care about his disciple's remains? Soon, Sarutobi Hiruzen saw the 3rd session of the Chunin exam. Orochimaru tore the 4th Kazekage mask, held hostage to himself in the comics, and even released 1st Hokage and 2nd Hokage from impure world reincarnation. In the end, he had no choice but to use the corpse ghost to seal the door of the seal technique that perishes together. Sarutobi Hiruzen's expression gradually darkened. He has mixed feelings. Although I don't want to believe it, I have to believe it. The Sarutobi Hiruzen in the manga is himself. Anything can be faked, but the habits and ways of thinking that have been developed over decades cannot be faked. He has no doubt that if he were placed in a comic scenario, he would have made the exact same choices as in the comics. If there is no comic shop, maybe this is my future. 5.6 Could it be that you just died at the hands of the student you were most proud of? What irony is this? An anger rose in Sarutobi Hiruzen's heart, but it was more of a chill. Orochimaru killed an unknown number of people for the Forbidden Technique experiment, and he didn't have the heart to catch him, so he let him go. But Orochimaru paid him back. The other side, Gaara watched One Piece, Grand Line, 0. He could see that this comic was not the beginning, but it didn't affect much. He just wanted to see what reward he would get. This comic shop can even produce the same monster shower he in his body, which makes him curious. However, Gaara watched and watched, but she couldn't help being grasped by the plot of the pirate gradually. Chapter 0178. The royal burial chamber in Alabasta is about to collapse. Nico Robin finally became disheartened when he saw that the historical text that he had spent years trying to find was actually only the information of the ancient weapon Pluton. She was tired and didn't want to carry it all on. She is hated by the world, and no one in this world wants her to live. It might be a relief to die here instead of struggling so painfully. Gaara's eyes couldn't help but turn red and wet. No one could feel the loneliness of such a man against the hostility of the whole world more than he did. When he was still in his mother's womb, he was sealed into one tael by 4th Kazekage, his father, Luoshat. Therefore, from his birth, the people of Tsunagaku revered him and hated him. None of his peers wanted to be friends with him. Even if he took the initiative to help others, he would be slandered by others. Everyone looked at him with hatred and fear, as if they were looking at a monster. He was miserable and desperate. Why is he the only one who is a monster? What did he do wrong? The only one who can get a trace of love is his uncle Yashimaru. But one day, 15, he met an assassin to assassinate him. He killed the assassin, only to find out that the assassin was actually Yoshimaru. Before his death, Yoshimaru told him that he had come to assassinate him on the orders of 4th Kazekage. Gaara collapsed. Do you even want to kill your own father? Didn't he seal the monster in his body into his own body? He turned himself into a monster with his own hands, and now he feels that this monster is useless and wants to get rid of himself? Yoshimaru also said that even his mother, Kari, hated him. Gaara is desperate like never before. From then on, he realized that he was nothing more than a monster to be avoided by anyone. I am deeply cursed by this world. He wants to live only for himself. However, in One Piece manga, Luffy is not like everyone else. He carried the Robin who was hunted by the whole world, accepted her, and made her his companion. Gaara had hope at this moment. In the City of Seven Waters, Robin chose to submit to CP9 in order to save the Straw Hat Pirates. The Straw Hat Pirates came to the Enice lobby to rescue Robin. When he heard that Robin's enemy was the world government that ruled the world, Luffy did not back down and let Sniper King shoot through the flag of the world government and declare war on the world government. Robin finally understood that Luffy and the others were different from the people he had met before. They were truly worthy companions who were worthy of her life and death. She cried out, I want to live. Take me to the sea too. 35 Gaara's eyes trembled. Will there be people in this world who accept themselves the way Luffy and the others accepted Robin? Will there be a sea of its own in this world? If there really is such a person. He thought that his heart had long been indifferent and only lived for himself. But there has never been a moment so strong as now that I can meet such a person who can accept myself. In a blink of an eye, an hour passed, and it was almost 5 p.m. The setting sun slants westward, dyeing the mahogany leaves. Yamato finished reading the Doppo manga, let out a sigh of relief, and said to himself, Yao Lao is the protagonist's cheater in the comics, and now Yao Lao has become Konohamaru's cheater. Maybe Konohamaru is the kind of person who has the aura of the protagonist. I have to beware of Konohamaru saying to me that 30 years in Hidong, 30 years in Hexi, don't bully young people into poverty, then I will be miserable. 5 At this time, a splendid light fell from the void. Until the light fades, Yamato had an extra cyan pill with 3 golden lines in his hand. Yamato was taken aback. This is 3 pattern blue elixir. Shen Ye introduced, there is a chance to increase your strength, but there is also a chance to reduce your strength. Whether it is good or bad depends on your luck. Is it the 3 pattern azure elixir? I remember this elixir. 35 Yamato was quite happy to know what his reward was, and put away the 3 pattern blue elixir. He remembered that in the comics, Xiao Yan participated in the Yakushi refining conference in the Jamma Empire, and he won the championship by refining this 3-patterned azure pill. Fighters in the Great Fighting Master realm take this pill, and there is a chance to increase the 3-star realm, but if they fail, they may also reduce their 1-star realm. Compared with the risk, the effect of improving the realm of Samsung is obviously worth a fight. Therefore, it is respected by many fighters. Yamato did not expect that this 3-pattern blue elixir would still be effective when it came to the ninja world. But he is not taking it now. In the comics, taking medicinal pills is to find a place where no one is disturbed and quietly refining, and he is going to go home and take this 3-pattern blue elixir. Beiki also finished reading the 8 parts of Tianlong at this time. Closing the comic book, the man's face showed a bit of sigh. Reading comics is like traveling through a lifetime. The vicissitudes of life, the cloudy and sunny days. There is a feeling of sadness that ends up being nothing but an empty feeling. At this time, system information refresh. Customer Beiki has finished reading Hokage Ninja, upper part and obtained, grab and dragon claw hand catch and dragon's claws, a unique skill that has been lost in the lineage of flower thieves in martial arts. There are 64 subtle changes in this technique. Whether you are an Ime female hero, or a Buddhist nun, all those in this hand are red-faced, their hearts are in chaos, and they fall softly to the ground. 66-99 Shen Ye almost sprayed water when he saw the reward information. The system is getting more and more annoying. Even this stuff came out. Buzz one by one a dazzling light enveloped Beiki. Beiki felt a message gradually clear in his mind. After the information is sent, Beiki looked at Shen Ye with anticipation. Boss, I am. He is ready. 18 Dragon Subduing Palms, 6 Meridian Divine Sword, etc. The big deal is that it is not bad to give yourself one of the 72 stunts of Shaolin Temple. The Lost Secret of the Flower Thief, catch and dragon claw hand. Shen Ye said simply and simply. Everyone turned to look at Beiki with strange expressions on their faces. What? Beiki's face is full of confusion. What kind of martial arts is this? Why haven't I seen it in the comics? 35 Shen Ye said, if you can see this martial arts, Tianlong Babu will not be called martial arts comics, but adult comics. Beiki, you're right, AKO. Beiki sighed, is this reward useless? It doesn't count. Still useful? 35 Beiki's eyes lit up when he heard the words. Shen Ye said, it's a pity not to go to the club. 5 Beiki's expression instantly froze. Puchi Temari couldn't help but laugh out loud. Kankuro slapped the table with a smile and said, Mr. Beiki, even if you're not a ninja, you can raise cows. I guarantee that you are the best at milking cows. Beiki, squeeze you m. I'll send you a message first, do you believe it? Chapter 0179. Finally finished it, it's so funny. Kankuro quickly watched the show with a smile on his face. Miss Baoer is so pretty. Not burying people, but on the way to bury people. At every turn, there are a few tricks of the old driver, which make people's scalp numb. It was the first time he had seen such an interesting cartoon. Compared with this, the ones he watched in Tsunagakure could hardly be called manga. And many of the alien abilities in this comic are very useful. For example, the corpse driving skills of Lu Yunyan, a descendant of Xiangzi's corpse hunting lineage, paired well with his puppet technique. No matter what, it's no worse than Beiki's End Dragon Claw hand, right? Thinking, Kankuro looked at Beiki. I saw that Beiki was secretly practicing the End Dragon Claw hand there. Seeing Kankuro look over, Beiki hurriedly put his hands away. Kankuro joked, it's okay, Beiki-sensei, you can practice, it will be useful for milking in the future. Beiki looked gloomy. MD, I see what rewards you can draw. A light fell. Kankuro prayed secretly in his heart. However, until the light faded, Kankuro didn't realize what his reward was. There is nothing, and it doesn't feel like there is any more information. Kankuro looked at Shen Ye in amazement, boss, where is my reward? Shen Ye took a light sip of the black tea, I did. What? Don't shake billion. Kankuro, what? Why doesn't this reward sound like something fun to me? Kankuro was a little confused and asked, don't shake billion, what is it? What kind of ability is this? Shen Ye said solemnly, it's the ability to not have a bee face. Do not shake billion is Zhang Hulin's beautifying name for his various shameless operations. With this reward, he will become more and more shameless, and eventually reach the realm of Zhang Hulin's invincibility. Puff! When Beiki heard this explanation, he burst into laughter. The mood of the haze that was originally drawn to grab the End Dragon Claw hand suddenly changed for the better. Humans are incomparable. When you compare, you will feel. Still he's down. Ha 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 ha. The ability not to have a bee face is truly the best reward I've ever heard. Kankuro said stiffly, what's the use of this? Shen Ye thought about it and said, it will subtly change your temperament and then you get more and more shameless. Kankuro, I suddenly have a little blue and thin mushrooms. Hanabi, who was narrated by Shen Ye, smiled and said, Shen Ye-kun, you are good or bad? 95 This reward is not bad. 99 Beiki patted Kankuro's shoulder and suddenly stopped smiling. Kankuro glanced sideways at Beiki and hummed, laugh if you want. 39 Beiki shook his head, why am I smiling? As your teacher, I should encourage you, unless I can't help it. Ha 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 ha. Are you angry? Ha ha ha, I feel so irritated myself. Oops. I really don't feel like a teacher anymore. But so happy. Ha 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 ha. 35 Let you just laugh at me. If you don't believe me, look up and see who God has forgiven. Kankuro, article, ±1 I make up. I'll kill you with a table. Beiki is quick to stop joking with Kankuro. From his and Kankuro's awards, he draws some conclusions. Comic shops do have the chance to win big prizes, but opportunities always come with equal or greater risk. In a nutshell, this comic shop, look at the face. Speaking of faces. Beiki looked at Kankuro. Ha 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 ha. 35 Hearing Beiki's laughter, Kankuro's heart throbbed. Temari's scalp tingled as he watched Beiki and Kankuro's reward. Grab and dragon claw hands, don't shake billion. What the hell is this? If I give myself this kind of reward, I'm afraid I'll cry. Temari's hand even trembled while holding the comic. After a while, Temari finally finished watching Soul Street, waiting for the reward full of anxiety. At the same time, system information refresh. Customer Temari has finished reading Street of the Soul, Part 1 and obtained, Guardian Spirit, Feilian Guardian Spirit, Feilian, the legendary beast that can control the wind of heaven and earth, the Guardian Spirit of Yan Fengjia for Ling Feng Street's soul suppression, because it was too powerful, it once destroyed half of Ling Feng Street. Feilian is a guardian spirit who specializes in manipulating wind. Temari is also a ninja who is good at wind style. Luckily, I got a guardian spirit with matching attributes. Shen Ye looked at the reward information. Temari looked at Shen Ye with bright eyes, and said anxiously, "Boss, what is my reward?" "Go outside the comic store and you'll find out." Shen Ye smiled lightly. Outside. Temari was startled and immediately came outside the comic shop. As soon as Temari walked outside the comic shop, a dazzling brilliance fell from the sky. At the same time, the sky and the earth suddenly set off a gust of wind. The wind whimpered, and the sand and stones flew away, as if a demon god was about to descend into the world. This is... Both Beiki and Kankuro came out of the manga shop. The brilliance faded. Temari stared blankly at the beast-faced armor demon god in front of him. The demon god's eyes were cold and scarlet like a blood moon, carrying a huge sickle, and the surrounding hurricanes revolved around him, billowing demonic energy into the sky. This is... Feilian. Temari's pupil shrank, then a surprised expression appeared. Feilian is the guardian spirit of Yan Fengjia of the protagonist Cao Yanbing and his gang, and has a very powerful strength. Yan Fengjia and Feilian have a very high degree of tacit understanding, and they are also the first person in the comics to show a special fusion. The most important thing is that Feilian is the spirit of the divine beast who controls the wind. She also happens to be a wind-style ninja. Feilian is definitely the most suitable guardian spirit for her, no one. Even Temari could not have imagined that he was so lucky to have summoned such a powerful and suitable guardian spirit. Feilian looked down at Temari and said, "Who are you? Why am I here?" Temari told Feilian, of Wang Hao, the reason for the comic shop, and asked with hope, "Will you be my guardian spirit?" Feilian was silent for a moment, then said, "In this case, I would like to protect you from now on." Feilian doesn't say much, but as long as he chooses, he has no hesitation. Form a relationship with Temari and enter the guardian spirit space. The guardian spirit has its own space, and existed in this space before being summoned by the spirit host. From now on, I am also a spiritual person. Temari showed a delighted smile, but did not expect to regain Feilian so easily. With Feilian, the guardian spirit, his combat power has skyrocketed. Beiki, is this the legendary emperor of Europe? Kankuro, jealousy overwhelms me. Temari's rare cheeks flushed, and she smiled at Shen Ye. "Thank you boss 9." Shen Ye smiled. "I'm just collecting money to do business, it's your luck that you can win." Feilian. Chapter 0180. Comic Shop. At this point, only Sarutobi Hiruzen and Gara Ryo were the only two customers who were still reading manga. Sarutobi Hiruzen finally finished reading the Hokage manga and closed the comic book, but his face was gloomy. He had already guessed a thing or two about the purpose of Orochimaru's attack on Konoha. Orochimaru is only interested in studying ninjutsu and immortality. As long as it is ninjutsu that interests him, he will not hesitate no matter how many people need to sacrifice. Then, it must be ninjutsu that can make him spend so much trouble attacking Konoha. Konoha, as the village with the strongest heritage among the 5 great ninja villages, has many coveted high-level ninjutsu. Orochimaru has always wanted to get these ninjutsu, but he did not allow it. But as long as he was killed, the seat of Hokage would be vacated. Those who sit on the seat of Hokage can exchange various forbidden techniques and Orochimaru sealed by Konoha for benefits. Under those circumstances, the one most likely to take the Hokage seat, not Tsunade who later became 5th Hokage, it's not that Jiraiya who doesn't like being bound by rules, it is Danzo, who has been hiding under the darkness of Konoha and controls the root. It's just that Tsunade overcame the fear of blood in the Battle of Sunin and came back to inherit the position of Hokage, breaking Danzo's wishful thinking. In terms of strength and background, Danzo can't compare to Tsunade. Moreover, Orochimaru attacked Konoha with such a big movement, but Danzo and Gen's people did not make any movement, which is even more self-evident. A cold light flashed in Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes. He believed that his guess was inseparable. Unexpectedly, it was his old friend and his student who joined forces to kill him. Aside from Orochimaru and Danzo, Akatsuki is the one who cares most about him. The comic finally revealed that the goal of Akatsuki's organization was to collect 9 tailed beasts. Tailed beasts have existed in the world in the form of demons for countless years, and it was not until each village developed a method to become a Jinchuriki that the tailed beasts were transformed into the fighting power of each village. Is Akatsuki's organization of collecting tailed beasts just to use them as weapons? He thought it couldn't be that simple. The 2 members of the Akatsuki organization who killed Asuma were undoubtedly masters of cage-level strength. Uchiha Itachi, who has Manjiki Sharingan, is also a cage-level power. As for the mist shinobi named Hoshigaki Kisame, his strength will definitely not be bad if he can partner with Uchiha Itachi. And the Xia organization has more members. So many S-level rebels and ninjas gathered together, but it was a rather terrifying force. To know the answer, look no further than the Hokage manga below. He had a hunch, in the next Hokage manga, not only will this mysterious organization emerge, but even more amazing secrets will emerge. Sarutobi spit out a foul breath. He had never felt so big for a moment. The more you know, the more the crisis. Not only have to deal with Orochimaru's next attack, but also beware of the mysterious Akatsuki. Moreover, the content of the comics will soon spread throughout the ninja world, and the above will no longer be secrets. What kind of butterfly effect will be triggered in the end, even he does not know. At this time, a system information refresh. Customer Sarutobi Hiruzen has finished reading Hokage Ninja, Part 1, and obtained Sexual Seduction Form 24 Hours S*X Seduction Form 24 Hours, Naruto's Sekking Ninjutsu, transformed into a woman, coquettish and cute, very lethal to men. In this form, not only the appearance will be transformed into the appearance of seduction, but also the language and actions will be automatically imitated. This reward cannot be lifted until the time limit is reached. This reward. Shen Ye looked at the system message and expressed some distress for Sarutobi Hiruzen. Let him be Naruto for 24 hours. This reward is really spiritual. Is this reward reliable? When it was time to give out the reward, Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly became a little uneasy. The first time I drew a tea egg, I ended up attracting Udaten Koharu, the Death Star. The second time I drew Zanpakuto, the Fox Mask Enbu's group of ZZs surrounded him and they were madly beaten. He already has a psychological shadow. The comic shop is good, but it's not a bit expensive. BFFG, hum. At this moment, a dazzling light fell from the void. In the light, Sarutobi Hiruzen found himself changing all over his body. The dry wood-like skin gradually turned pale. His hunched body gradually straightened up. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked ecstatic. Have you acquired the ability to rejuvenate yourself? Isn't it? Is it so good? Oh, the brilliant light faded. Puff when Yamato and Baki saw what Sarutobi Hiruzen looked like at this moment, they spurted out nosebleeds. Both Temari and Hanabi bowed their heads flushed. Only Kankuro kept his eyes fixed, staring straight at him. Although he knew that the soul beneath the surface was a bald old man whose flies were slipping on his skull. What does it matter? This doesn't stop me from being greedy for him. And many more. How could I have this thought? How can I be so shameless? Damn it! Is this the ability to not shake billion? Am I starting to get shameless? Damn it! If you keep staring so shamelessly. It's so pretty, hee hee hee. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at the group of people and asked with a confused expression, what happened to you? Suddenly, the wind blows. Sarutobi Hiruzen felt a little cold. Looking down. I at number yen %, 35 Sarutobi Hiruzen almost fainted when he saw it. I have no clothes, can I keep it from getting cold? The clothes are gone, but the body has become a woman? Sarutobi Hiruzen came to the mirror, his blood pressure soared, and he felt dizzy. Not only her body, but also her face had turned into a girl with golden double ponytails with traces of beards. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Shen Ye with a broken face, boss, this is... Sarutobi Hiruzen shuddered. It was because he found out that even when he spoke, it was Naruto's delicate voice. Eat shit. And let no one live. Naruto's seduction form. With a pair of appreciative eyes, Shen Ye said, it will disappear automatically after 24 hours. Hearing that there was only 24 hours left, Sarutobi Hiruzen breathed a sigh of relief. It's okay, it's only for one day. If it stays like this, it will really collapse. Sarutobi Hiruzen turned his head at this moment, and suddenly saw a circle of men in front of the manga shop, all of them looking at him from a distance, and some even put their hands in their pants. Fly Hiruzen, plus or minus work ape, what are you doing, what are you doing? Chapter 0181. Sarutobi Hiruzen was so angry that he blocked his body with both hands, stomped his feet hard, and said in a coquettish manner, what are you doing? I see. What's the situation? Sarutobi Hiruzen was bewildered. How do you talk about yourself, how are you so mean? Shen Ye added, in the form of seduction, you will also maintain the character and behavior of this form. Sarutobi Hiruzen, Naruto, I at number %. You are killing me. Nothing to study this kind of ninjutsu, what? Ha ha ha. 35 Hanabi was so happy that he lay on Shen Ye's lap, trembling all over his body. The Hokage reward is really boring. Sarutobi Hiruzen's hands are imprinted, trying to cover up with transformation technique like Danzo. As a result, his face instantly turned purple. Transformation technique doesn't work at all. Naruto shape is originally a transformation technique, and it is impossible to superimpose a layer of transformation technique. Sarutobi Hiruzen lost even the last shred of hope. Sarutobi Hiruzen looked at Yamato, only to find Yamato staring at him in awe, and exclaimed, Yamato! What are you doing, good or bad? I at number %. What a terrible line. Sarutobi Hiruzen was about to collapse. I obviously just wanted to say what you are doing, but I unconsciously added the good or the bad. Yamato wiped his nosebleed, fire. Sarutobi Hiruzen quickly covered his mouth and whispered, don't say it. Yamato figured it out quickly. If it is known that Sarutobi Hiruzen turned into a naked girl in a comic shop, it will affect his reputation. Sarutobi Hiruzen whispered, hurry up and find me something to wear. Yamato went out and immediately brought back someone Sarutobi Hiruzen didn't want to see. Fox Mask Enbu. Sarutobi Hiruzen suddenly felt a sense of boredom. Yamato, do you have a grudge against me? No one is looking for it, you are looking for this product. Fox Mask Enbu took off his Anbu cloak as soon as he entered the door, put it on Sarutobi Hiruzen who looked like Naruto, and whispered, I already know everything, I will escort Hokage-sama out of here. 35 Sarutobi Hiruzen glanced at Anbu, the fox mask. Has this guy become reliable? Wrapped in black robes, Sarutobi Hiruzen soon leaves the manga shop under the protection of the fox mask Anbu. Looking at Sarutobi Hiruzen's faraway back, Baki wiped his nosebleed and said lightly, I think I have to have an F35 number 35. Kankuro shook his head, it should be G. A black line appeared on Temari's forehead, can you two talk about something normal men talk about? Baki and Kankuro turned their heads at the same time, looking puzzled, isn't naughty a topic for normal men to talk about? Is it talking about men? 9 Temari, trademark. At this time, Gaara, the last customer, also finished reading the One Piece manga. After reading the manga, he envied the Straw Hat Pirates from the bottom of his heart. They allow themselves to be laughed at, but never allow others to laugh at their fellows. They will have a fight at every turn, but never allow others to shoot at their companions. But Gaara also knows that he can only be envious. Because in the eyes of the whole world, he is a monster. At the same time, system information refresh. Customer Gaara has finished reading One Piece, Grand Line and got Edward Newgate, the legendary Whitebeard Edward Newgate, who is called the living legend by the world, is one of the 4 emperors who rule the New World with the ability of Paramecia's strongest fruit, shock fruit. Because of his monster-like terrifying strength, he is known as the world's strongest man. He leads the Whitebeard pirates under his command and gallops across the sea, guarding the children behind him with his strength. Whitebeard. Shen Ye was surprised. A lot of cartoon characters are summoned today. Aizen, Artoria, and Whitebeard are all representative characters in their respective comics. Whitebeard. As long as you have read the One Piece manga, you will never forget the character Whitebeard. Even people who haven't read One Piece manga have heard the name Whitebeard. No matter what era he is in, Whitebeard deserves to stand at the apex of this era and is recognized by the world as the strongest man in the world. Unlike other ambitious pirates, all Whitebeard wants is family. Even if Roger wanted to tell him the secret of One Piece that drove the whole world crazy, Whitebeard refused. He doesn't care about wealth and power. He even mailed his own treasure back to his hometown, and the dignified 4 emperors only drank wine from others. But only one thing is the iron rule that he will never allow to break. On his boat are his children. He would never allow anyone to harm his children, otherwise the Wunder would understand the horrors of Whitebeard. The crew therefore called Whitebeard Papa from the bottom of their hearts. In the Summit War, Whitebeard dragged his body, which was nearly exhausted, and led his subordinates to rescue Ace, fought against naval headquarters and the Blackbeard pirates, and finally died in battle. Whitebeard fought countless battles in his life and was injured countless times, but he did not have any scars on his back from running away. Even in death, he still stands. 0. As for Whitebeard's strength, if it was in its heyday, with its monster-level powerful physique, the Conqueror's Haki, which was consummate, and Shock Fruit, which was developed to awakening, would undoubtedly be a powerhouse beyond Cage level. Comparable to ninja legends like Senju Hashirama and Uchiha Madara. However, the system summoned Whitebeard shortly before Summit War. He was seriously ill by then. But even so, Whitebeard still showed amazing fighting ability in Summit War. Shen Ye smiled. Now that even Whitebeard has come to the ninja world, the ninja world has become more interesting. Shen Ye said to Gaara, "Your reward is a bit big, you have to go outside." Gaara arrives outside the comic shop. Temari, Beiki, Kankuro are all curious what Gaara's reward will be. A ray of light descended from the void. Bright and radiant. In the middle, a figure appeared faintly. This figure is 6 or 7 meters high, standing with a knife, motionless like a mountain, exuding a domineering power from his body. Gaara's pupils narrowed. "What is your reward?" Now, the light dissipated. A burly and stalwart old man with a white beard shaped like a crescent moon. Holding a pheasant knife and hunting with a cloak. Scar in front of him. Although the eyes are restrained, they are full of the power of kings. Recognizing Gaara's reward at a glance, Hanabi was shocked. Whitebeard. He actually summoned Whitebeard. The door. Chapter 0182. Where is this? Is it the ability of a capable person? The summoned Whitebeard looked around, with a surprised expression on his face, and soon turned to a confident smile without fear. He thought that someone used Devil Fruit ability to transfer him to this strange place. After all, Paramecia Devil Fruit's abilities are all kinds of strange, no matter what appears, it will not surprise him. This feeling. When the 3 of Beiki saw Whitebeard, their expressions changed. The power naturally revealed by the crescent-bearded old man made them feel like they were standing upright. Gaara summoned, what level of power is this? They were not happy that Gaara had summoned the strong. Because the creatures that are summoned in the comic store do not listen to whoever is summoned. The summoned creature has a completely independent character, and it is not unusual for a person to shoot the summoner to death directly if he is unhappy. If this crescent-bearded old man also came here. The real shock was Gaara and Hanabi. They have all seen One Piece, Grand Line. Knowing that the person in front of him is one of the 4 emperors who rule the second half of the Grand Line, Whitebeard, who has the name of the strongest man in the world. Gaara looked up at Whitebeard, who was like an iron tower, his pupils trembling. The mention of Whitebeard in the Grand Line is limited. The only time he made an appearance was when the red-haired Shanks went to Whitebeard because of Ace, the captain of the second team of the Whitebeard pirates, and persuaded Whitebeard not to let Ace chase and kill Teach. Whitebeard is very protective of the calf and doesn't allow redheads to point fingers. As a result, the 2 emperors fought against each other, and the endless power caused the sky to crack. This scene alone made Gaara deeply impressed by Whitebeard. However, Gaara never imagined that his reward would be Whitebeard, the strongest man in the pirate world. Whitebeard looked down at Gaara, the corners of his mouth raised slightly. "Hey, kid, did you use your abilities to get me here?" Gaara's face quickly returned to the usual indifference, and said, "No, I read the comics and summoned you, this is not your pirate world." "What did you say? Did you call me when you read the manga?" "Goo la 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 la. Funny kid, you're the first person to say such absurd things to me." Whitebeard froze for a moment, then laughed, as if he had heard a funny joke. There was Conqueror's Haki in the laughter, like thunder. Black and red lightning flashed around Whitebeard. The originally clear sky was suddenly covered with dark clouds, thunder roared, and the wind howled. Holding a pheasant sword, Whitebeard seems to be a demon of destruction. The entire Konoha became trembling under the impact of this conqueror's haki, which was like a violent wang yang. What power is this? Ah! I feel like my head is about to explode. Kankuro, who was hit by conqueror's haki at close range, had a splitting headache, and his consciousness began to blur. Beiki's face was also very ugly. Even he felt a very terrifying mental shock. Temari has the power to protect Ling Feilian, so he is not affected by conqueror's haki. And in Konoha, groups of people continue to lose consciousness and pass out. Many ninjas in Konoha looked in the direction of the comic shop with ugly expressions, and cold sweat dripped from their foreheads. It was Aizen at noon, and the tailed beasts fought in the afternoon. What is going on now? Today's day is too red chicken, isn't it? Conqueror's haki, which was like a flash flood in Konoha, did not affect the comic shop in the slightest. Hanabi looked at the terrifying power emanating from Whitebeard and exclaimed, Shen Ye-kun, is this the one in a million conqueror's haki you said? 99 Shen Ye sipped the black tea lightly and said, the stronger the owner of conqueror's haki, the stronger the effect. For a powerhouse like Whitebeard, stunning 100,000 fish ninjas at a time is not a problem at all. With Luffy's strength 2 years later, a conqueror's haki on the Fishman Island can stun 50,000 people, not to mention Whitebeard. Pirate world is amazing. Hanabi clicks her tongue. How many ninjas are there in Konoha? How could Whitebeard stun 100,000 people with just conqueror's haki? Shen Ye thought to himself. That's what you don't know about the fairy fights in the later stages of the Hokage world, and even the moon can be cut open. The pheasant knife in Whitebeard's hand turned, and the cold blade pointed directly at Gaara, and the endless power burst out. Little devil, do you know who you are talking to? Gaara said, of course I do, Whitebeard. With the power of one tael, he will not be affected by conqueror's haki. Seeing that Gaara's face remained unchanged under his conqueror's haki, the corners of Whitebeard's mouth lifted slightly, revealing a very appreciative smile. The knife closed neatly, and the hilt shook the ground. Whitebeard laughed loudly, goo la la la, a little timid little brat, I'll first listen to what interesting things you have prepared to tell me. Gaara simply and sharply told the story of how he read a pirate manga in a comic store and summoned Whitebeard. You said I came from that manga called One Piece? Am I really your reward for reading comics? Whitebeard's pupils trembled, incredulous at first. But when Gaara mentioned the dark fruit thing, he vaguely believed it. The outside world knows that Blackbeard killed his fourth team captain Thatch and escaped, but the details are not known to outsiders, but Gaara can tell. But even so, thinking that he was summoned from the comics, Whitebeard still finds it hard to believe such a bizarre thing. Gaara said, I've said what I had to say, believe it or not. Whitebeard looked at the comic shop and asked Shen Ye, boss, I want to read the pirate comic he mentioned, is it okay? Shen Ye said, our store is now closed. If you want to come tomorrow, prepare 5,000 taels. You can only read one book a day, and the price will double every time you look at it. Whitebeard was stunned. Every time I look at it, the price doubles, and there is such a strange 5.6 regulation? Celestial dragons are not so dark. Since this is the case, Whitebeard didn't say much, but looked at Gaara and asked, did you see Ace in the comics? 35 Gaara was startled, then nodded. He saw a soft light in Whitebeard's eyes when he mentioned the name Ace. That is the tenderness of a father to his son. Whitebeard showed a smile and said, if you don't mind, let's talk. Gaara agrees. Seeing that Gaara followed Whitebeard away, Beiki looked at each other and left the comic shop. Shen Ye-kun, wait for me to go out with my coat. Hanabi went upstairs to get his coat. At this time, the system panel pops up. You have closed your business, please choose one from all the customer rewards today. Chapter 0183. Today's rewards, the power of Quincy, Eisensuk, 6 forms, no shaking billion, Alchuria, and Dragon Claw Hand, Guardian Spirit Shi Ling Ming, receive magic, Fire Dragon Slayer magic. Shen Ye took a look at the rewards drawn by the customers today. In terms of abilities, he already has the Storm Fruit ability and Garp's Armament Haki. In terms of items, he also has the Tegu Dimensional Square, Shangri-La and the Distant Ideal Land. And these abilities and items in today's rewards are of little help to him. Shen Ye suddenly asked the system, what if I choose the characters that have already appeared? System wrote, if you choose Aizen, it will be automatically transformed into a captain-level character that summons Shinigami. If you choose Artoria, it will be automatically transformed into summoned heroic spirit. The same goes for characters in other comics. At the same time, the creatures you summon are completely loyal to you. The business of comic shops is increasing, and it's not bad to find someone to do chores. Shen Ye rubbed his chin and said, then I will choose to summon a Shinigami captain. You select Summon Shinigami Captain character as a reward, and the distribution starts. You get, Shihaoran Yuryuaki 15 Shihaoran Yuryuaki, the former captain of Godi 13th 2nd Division, the former commander of Secret Mobile and the commander of the Criminal Army, and the head of the 20th second generation of the Shihaoran family, one of the 4 nobles of the Soul Society. Good at white hits and shunpo, known as Shen Ye. After coming to this world, it often appears in the form of a black cat. Yuryuaki. Shen Ye couldn't help but smile when he saw that Oni-san, who was actually drawn to the top of his fighting power, couldn't help but smile. Unlike the other Shinigami, Yuryuaki never showed any ability about Zanpakuto in the manga, and used taijutsu to fight the enemy. It's like Aizen's Kaika Suijutsu never uses Bankai. It's always been a mystery. However, even if Yuryuaki has never used Zanpakuto, he still has a very amazing fighting ability. Known as Flash Goddess because of its speed that is second to none among Shinigami. Of course, the most important thing is to look good. If you have a figure and a figure, you need a good-looking Oni-san, and you can usually change into a cat. It's perfect as a part-time pet. Also, in Yuryuaki's Shinigami manga in the manga store, there is no setting where people and cats change without clothes. A brilliant light fell. In the light, a shadow of a Super S-grade figure appeared. Until the light fades, Yuryuaki appeared with long purple ponytail hair, sexy brown skin, and black tights that highlighted her perfect body. Yuryuaki looked at Shen Ye who had summoned him, with a bit of cute curiosity in his eyes. The character summoned by Shen Ye is different from the character summoned by the customer, knows that he has been summoned, and is absolutely loyal to Shen Ye. Shen Ye smiled, from now on you will be the maid and pet in the shop. 35 Yuryuaki's pale golden eyes were slightly blurred, and he said with a bit of provocation, then do I want to call, master? Casual. Then that's what I call it, master. Yuryuaki laughed. Shen Ye-kun, who is she? Hanabi, who came downstairs to get his coat, looked at Yuryuaki who suddenly appeared in the manga store, and his eyes widened. How about Kawi little loli? Yuryuaki suddenly stepped forward and hugged Hanabi, and said boldly, just call me Yuryuaki. The praised Hanabi blushed, Yuryuaki-san. Shen Ye closed the comic shop and said, let's go, little Hanabi, go to Sister Hong's house for dinner. My favorite thing is to eat. Yuryuaki turned into a black cat and jumped on Shen Ye's shoulders, lying on top, wagging a tail. Shen Ye waved. The pattern of the dimensional square array diffuses out. The 2-in-1 cat disappeared out of thin air. What happened to that power just now? Sarutobi Hiruzen, who looked like Naruto, looked in the direction of the manga store that had just come from Conqueror's Haki. Seeing the fox mask next to this, Anbu felt uncomfortable, and decided in his heart. I'm going to help those poor girls in the alley when I say something. Whenever passing through those dark alleys and seeing the eager and helpless eyes of the girls in the alleys, I can't help but want to help them. The money is not much, but one can help one, and occasionally there are two who can help together. This should be the will of fire of Konoha that Hokage-sama often talks about. Use their own burning fire to illuminate those helpless girls in the alley, and they will also use the fire to illuminate thousands of kind people like me, and the will of fire is passed down like this. Fox Mask Enbu looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen's back. I'm chasing in your footsteps, Hokage-sama. Never mind. Sarutobi Hiruzen shook his head and suddenly saw Jiraiya walking from the opposite side, his face stiffened. Although I know that Jiraiya can't see that it is me. However, appearing like this in front of his students made Sarutobi Hiruzen feel an unspeakable sense of shame. Come on. Sarutobi Hiruzen bowed his head, wanting to walk over quickly. It is good. Fox Mask Enbu hurried to keep up, only to step on Sarutobi Hiruzen's cloak. Scoff Sarutobi Hiruzen felt the familiar cool breeze coming back, and looked down. The lower half of the cloak was trampled off by the Fox Mask Enbu, and the good cloak turned into a short skirt of chi p. Sarutobi Hiruzen poured out an old blood in Hungary. I knew it. 063 I knew it. It's not good to have this kid. Jiraiya's eyes on the opposite side are straight. What did I see? Long and straight legs like Matsushima-sensei. Sarutobi Hiruzen turned his head angrily, looking at the fox mask and grinding his teeth. The fox mask envy was very embarrassed, and quickly pulled the remaining black cloak to block it down, saying, "It's okay, Lord Hokage, the rest can still be covered." Scoff. Another large piece of fabric was torn off. Sarutobi Hiruzen was left with only a hat and 2 sleeves. Jiraiya's eyes flashed with peach hearts in an instant. INM. Sarutobi Hiruzen was so angry that her beautiful eyes were filled with tears, and her delicate body was trembling. The fox mask envy looked at the 2 pieces of cloth in his hand, and then looked at Sarutobi Hiruzen's face that was about to twist with anger, and said with a wise light, "Now the quality of this dress, you taste, you fine. I love you m." Sarutobi Hiruzen kicked the fox mask envy directly in the face, followed by a fat beating. After beating envy the fox mask, Sarutobi Hiruzen took off his coat and put it on. Sarutobi Hiruzen turned his head angrily, and was suddenly startled by a big face that came close. Jiraiya said meanly, "What a lovely lady, can we get to know each other?" Chapter 0184. Cannot. Seeing the look on Jiraiya's face, Sarutobi Hiruzen said angrily. Jiraiya pinched her waist with one hand, held her forehead with one hand, and raised the corner of her mouth. "Since you want to know me so much, let me introduce, Toad Sage is me, I am Jiraiya." Sarutobi Hiruzen gas not. Trademark. You don't understand words or what? Jiraiya raised her eyebrows. How is it? Miss, would you like to date me? Sarutobi rolled his eyes coquettishly and hummed, "What kind of person are you? Such a terrible tone and lines. Naruto, I at number %. Sarutobi Hiruzen had to greet Naruto in his heart 180 times every minute when he said such things uncontrollably. When Jiraiya heard the words, she smiled. "I understand, how much is it for one time?" Sarutobi Hiruzen, I'm in a showdown, I'm not pretending, I really want to smash your brains. Can you put something normal in your head? Who taught you? Ahem, I forgot that this guy taught it himself. I at number %. How did I teach him this virtue? Jiraiya took out the bottle of Brother W, and said mysteriously, "Did you see this? This is the reward I got in the comic shop. It's very powerful. I promise you will call me Dad when the time comes, hehe." 39 Fei Hiruzen, work 1 ape, I see you like a baba. Go Lao Z. Sarutobi Hiruzen was trembling with anger and walked away without looking back. Jiraiya shook her head and sighed as she looked at the slender figure that was leaving. At this moment, her eyes lit up, and she suddenly found Ebisu, who was tremblingly leaning against the wall. Ebisu's face changed horribly, and he clung to the telephone pole. Call. Sarutobi Hiruzen was sulking, and when he was about to get home, he could finally breathe a sigh of relief. A burst of bitterness in my heart. This ghost reward is not only bad, it is too bad for TMLGB. Is it so difficult to draw a normal reward by yourself? Snapped. Suddenly a small hand slapped the Sarutobi Hiruzen a drum relentlessly. Trademark. What BD is this? Sarutobi Hiruzen gritted his teeth and turned his head, only to see an excited Konohamaru. Konohamaru smiled and said, "Boss Naruto, when did you come back?" Sarutobi Hiruzen saw that Konohamaru thought of himself as Naruto, and said perfunctorily, "I just came back." 35 Konohamaru grabbed it quickly and couldn't help exclaiming, "Wow! Boss Naruto, your seduction is getting more and more real. It's amazing." Sarutobi Hiruzen, you little BD, you. At this time, Yao Lao's soul body emerged from the ring, followed Konohamaru's actions, and praised, "Your transformation technique in the ninja world is really unique." Sarutobi Hiruzen, you shameless old hooligan, I number at %. Sarutobi Hiruzen gritted his teeth, "I'm going home now." Suddenly, Konohamaru blushed, "Boss Naruto, can you show me what happened to that?" 35 Sarutobi Hiruzen's eyes were red with anger, and his fists were clenching his joints. "Come on, come closer, I'll let you take a good look." Sunset Red House. Hiroshi Ui is the chef, with Yuzuki Yin and Hinata assisting. The table was filled with sumptuous dishes of all colors and flavors. Arteria and the flower fairy beast were waiting eagerly at the dining table. Arteria's eyes were filled with stars. They are all delicacies that have never been seen before, and are exuding the evil scent of seducing the king. Although she has just eaten 50 bowls of seafood ramen, and there are so many snacks, Arteria still has no concept of fullness. After all, since ancient times, the king will not be full. The flower fairy beast next to him asked curiously, "Saber, what is your world like? The flower fairy beast is full of curiosity about Artoria, who is also from the comics. Artoria looked at the dishes and said, the food practices of our time were very simple, that is, grilled meat, grilled fish and green vegetables, and mashed potatoes. The flower fairy beast clearly felt that Artoria radiated a sense of resentment when she talked about mashed potatoes. I asked about the world and she said all about food. Sure enough, she was obsessed with eating. Yuri Hong came to the table, tasted the cold dish that had just been mixed, and said, Xian, you didn't put any salt in this dish. 9 Mao Xian let out a small tongue, forgot. Hong Yui said helplessly, can you make some snacks? When Artoria heard the words, she raised her head and asked, dim sum. What dim sum? Hong Yui looked at Artoria, who could be associated with food, and aroused a sense of respect, are you the legendary foodie? Artoria blushed, what legendary foodie is in reality? 35 Red Ui, underscore, my foodie king, you are really excellent. At this time, with a flash of brilliance, Shen Ye and Hanabi appeared directly at Hong Yui's house. Shen Ye-kun. Seeing Shen Ye, Hinata blushed. Shen Ye stroked the top of Hinata's head. There was a happy expression on the girl's face. Artoria said excitedly, you are finally here, just waiting for your meal. Yuryuki on Shen Ye's shoulder jumped down and turned into a human form, looked at the braised sari and said, this looks delicious. Night, Yuryuki. Yuhaka and Uzuki Yuin were surprised when they saw Yuryuki. Both of them had read the Shinigami manga and recognized Yuryuki right away. With Yuryuki's unrestrained character, he soon became one with his children. 66 Little Shen Ye. During the meal, Yuhaka asked, are you free this Sunday? I think. Shen Ye turned to look at Yuri Hong and said, it's okay, Sister Hong, I'm free on any Sunday. Ha ha ha. Uyuzian was the first to burst out in joy and almost sprayed rice. The other girls were also amused by Shen Ye's answer. Yuri Red Road, underscore, old driver, you are driving again. Konoha. The bright moon is in the sky, covering the world with a layer of silver sand. Whitebeard and Gaara sat on the edge of the cliffs of Hokage Rock, in front of the lights of the night. Whitebeard picked up the wine barrel and took a sip of wine into his mouth, and said with a bit of sadness in his eyes, you said that boy Ace and Teach duel, and finally, failed. He knows Teach well, is ruthless, and has hidden strengths. The 3 scars on Shank's eyes are what Teach once left. He has enough strength to be the captain of the second team, but Yi, Wang Hao, chooses to hide himself. Until the 4th team captain Thatch discovered the dark fruit, Teach finally stopped holding back, killed Thatch, took the dark fruit and escaped. Ace, because his Teach violated the ship's iron rules, brought shame to Whitebeard's name, and insisted on catching Teach back by himself. He had a hunch that Ace would be in danger and discouraged Kwazi. However, Ace went anyway. Since Ace cared more about the name Whitebeard than himself, he couldn't make an exception. In the sea, pirates regard their names as more important than life and death. Unfortunately, Ace still lost to Teach in the end. With Teach's mind, Ace is absolutely dangerous. Gaara sat next to him, nodded and said, well, Ace fought Blackbeard on Bonaro Island. Teach's dark fruit ability can invalidate the ability of the Logia ability, and Ace was finally caught by Blackbeard. Whitebeard slowly raised his head, the bright moon and stars reflected in his eyes, as if he had aged 10 years in an instant. Ace, you idiot! Chapter 0185. I don't know what will happen to those stupid sons, but they have never let me down. Whitebeard took a swig of the strong drink and said to himself with a smile. He is now convinced that he has come to the other world, and I am afraid it will be difficult to go back in the future. Without the Whitebeard pirates that he led, Ace was captured by Blackbeard again, and he did not know what his fate would be. But he believed that no matter what, Marco and the others could face all the storms and make the most correct choice. Because they were his Whitebeard's sons. This is enough. As a father, he is proud of his children. Roger once wanted to tell him where One Piece is, but he refused, because these children are his one piece of Whitebeard, and he has found his one piece. Gaara Shinobi suddenly asked, do you care about Ace? Hearing this, Whitebeard turned his head and said with a soft smile, how can a father not care about his son? Gaara kept Mochizuki silent and did not speak. Whitebeard handed the wine to Gaara and said, if you don't mind, you can tell me your story. Gaara couldn't say why, but inexplicably felt that Whitebeard had a sense of intimacy. After hesitating, he took a sip of the wine and said everything he had never said to anyone before. By 063 Beard listened quietly. As she spoke, the 2 tears on Gaara's face were clearly visible. I don't know why I became a monster myself, why even my father had to kill me. Whitebeard stood up suddenly. Gaara. 39 Gaara looked towards Whitebeard. Whitebeard stretched out his large palm, the corners of his mouth raised, and the cape fluttered gently in the wind. Be my son. What? What? Gaara was stunned for a moment, and then a storm surged in her heart. What did he say? Make me his son? For so many years, everyone around me hated me. Even he hated himself. But the man in front of him was willing to accept him and make himself a family member. Gaara lowered her head. I'm just a monster. Whitebeard laughed proudly. Some people call Laozi a monster, so isn't it normal for monsters and monsters to be together? Gaara's pupils trembled, and mist gradually formed in his eyes. Old, Dad. Gu la 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 la. Whitebeard put his hand on top of Gaara's head and laughed. BFFG, from now on, you are my son of Whitebeard. I will never allow anyone to bully my child. Tears welled up in Gaara's eyes. Is this what it feels like to have family? Among the woods, Temari, who was hiding behind the tree, smiled. The guardian spirit Feilian manifested and said solemnly, you actually care about your brother very much. Temari laughed. Gaara was born with so much pain and no one understood him. I wanted to help him, but I couldn't. But don't worry now. That man named Whitebeard was amazing. Country of Taki. Shiloh Town. I don't know when there is a comic shop on the town street. Shen Ye sat at the cashier with Erlang's legs crossed. Yuruaki, who was dressed in a black and white maid outfit, walked over with long white silk legs holding the black tea he had just brewed. Master, tea is ready. Yuruaki leaned close to Shen Ye's ear and said softly. Shen Ye took the teacup. Sure enough, having a maid is great. The maid has something to do, it's okay, cough, cough. Yuruaki made the tea and turned back into a black cat, lying on Shen Ye's lap, and said, Master, it's been over an hour and no one has been there. Shen Ye took a light sip of black tea, caressed the weak and boneless black cat Yuruaki on his leg, and smiled lightly. Don't worry, I have a hunch that the guests will come soon. The black cat hummed softly. On the street, 2 women run towards the comic store. The blonde and fierce beauty in the green windbreaker, with a diamond-shaped mark on her forehead, and a mature and beautiful face with a bit of depression, said as she ran, it's too unfortunate, you can even encounter this group of debt collectors when you go out for a late-night snack. Next to it, a short-haired woman in a black kimono holding a pig with an innocent expression complained, it's not the reason why you always lose money, Master Tsunade. Our living expenses have already been lost. Occasionally lose money. What is occasional? I've never seen you win. 35 Shizuan, you have to believe me, you will definitely win next time. You always say that before you lose. You're so long-winded, let's think about how to avoid that group of people now. Front Arya Manga Store. Just go there. Tsunade and Shizuan saw that the debt collector was about to catch up, and hurried into the manga shop. Haha, running into the comic store, the 2 women ran with uneven breath. Shen Ye, who was playing with the cat, looked at the 2 of them and smiled lightly, do you read comics? 35 The 2 Shen Ye in front of them naturally recognized them at a glance. Tsunade, along with Jiraiya and Orochimaru are all students of Sarutobi Hiruzen, because they teamed up with Hanzo, who fought against Rain Shinobi Village's demigod Hanzo when they were young, and they were recognized by Hanzo and given the name of Konoha Sunin. Not only has he inherited the powerful fighting power of the Senju clan, but he is also the #1 medical ninja in the ninja world. Although he is the same age as the other 2, Tsunade's appearance is still in his 30s. In the plot, after Sarutobi Hiruzen's death, Jiraiya finds Tsunade, who is succeeded by her as Konoha's 5th Hokage. But now she is still in a state of cloud, gambling, travel, money. Shizuan is Tsunade's disciple, medical Jainin, and he is quite Tsunade true in medical ninjutsu. Tsunade said, Boss, just let me hide in your shop. Yes. 35 Before the 2 girls were happy, Shen Ye said, the 2 of them have a total of 10,000 taels. Tsunade, who was about to enter the store, was shocked when he heard the number. How much did you say? Shen Ye said, each customer pays 5,000 taels for the first time, and can only read 1 book a day, and the price doubles every time after that. This was the first time Tsunade heard that reading a manga could be so expensive, and said angrily, "Why don't you go grab it?" Shen Ye showed an expression of "you are very reasonable" and said, "Well then, I'll grab it and take out the money." Tsunade, why doesn't this boss play cards according to the routine? Shen Ye smiled, "Just kidding, I run a serious comic shop." Tsunade's mouth twitched. "It costs 5,000 taels for the first look, and doubles it every time you look at it. How dare you say that you are a serious comic shop?" Tsunade hung in his arms and hummed, "No money. It is impossible to have money with money, it is impossible to have money in this life, and you can't work part-time, you can only gamble if you have money." Chapter 0186. Seeing that the debt collectors were about to catch up, Shizun hurriedly said, "I have money here." Shizun lifted a corner of the black kimono, took out the 10,000 taels held by the thin black belt on his legs, and handed the 10,000 taels with his body temperature to Shen Ye with a flushed face. Shen Ye took the money and said, "Now you two can come in and read the comics. In addition, 100% of reading the comics will get random rewards from the comics." "And random rewards?" Shizun's black eyes widened. It was the first time she had heard that there were rewards for reading comics. Tsunade, who was next to him, didn't even care about the rewards. Seeing that Shizun, who had complained about no money just now, suddenly took out 10,000 taels, he immediately searched the latter's body and said, "Shizun, you actually hid money from your private house? Is there anything else?" 35 It's really gone now, this is the living expenses I keep." Seeing that Tsunade's hands were getting lower and lower, Shizun hurriedly covered the bottom of the kimono, and said with a hot face, "Aya! Lord Tsunade, it's all going to be gone." Saying that, Shizun glanced at Shen Ye. Shen Ye coughed, "I didn't see anything." Shizun's cheeks were redder. It must have been seen just now, so shameful. Tsunade saw that Shizun really had no money before he waved his hand and turned his eyes to the bookshelf. Although she has no interest in comics, she has spent all the money. If she doesn't read it, I'm really sorry for the 10,000 taels. This one looks good, that's all. 35 Tsunade's eyes swept around the bookshelf and finally chose Fairy Tale, Part 1. Shizun chose Shinigami Soul Society. After choosing the comics, the two women went to the comic shop to read the comics. The two of them ran this way, how can they be gone? It must be hidden. Find it. Boss, it looks like Arya manga store over there. Go and see. 33 A man with a centipede-shaped scar on his left face carried a knife and led 20 or 30 thugs outside the comic shop. As soon as the man with scars entered the comic shop, he saw Tsunade and Shizun holding comic books, and sneered, "You guys are really here, let's see where you are going." 35 Tsunade and Shizun's expressions suddenly changed and they were about to run away. Shen Ye at the cash register casually flipped through the velvet pattern and said lightly, "How many of you read comics?" "Read comics?" The man with a scar who was about to enter the store to arrest someone heard this, turned his head to look at Shen Ye, put the knife on the cashier counter, and said contemptuously, "Do you think this is enough? This shop only accepts cash, not scrap metal." 99 Shen Ye said. The scarred man said, "Then tell me, how much?" The men of the scarred man showed their weapons one after another, full of threats. 5,000 taels per person. 5,000? The man with the scar was stunned for a moment, then sneered, "Okay, your comic shop is darker than our casino. If I don't give money, do you still want to enter? You'll know when you try." "Hey!" 35 The scarred man raised his knife and walked towards Tsunade and Shizun, disdainfully saying, "Laozi will not." Laugh. The scarred man just took a step, his body suddenly stiffened, and he stood there motionless like a petrification. The group of thugs behind them looked at each other, feeling that something was wrong. A thug touched the scarred man and said tentatively, "Boss, how can you?" As soon as he touched the scarred man fell down with a bang. The head of the man who maintained that disdain expression rolled off his neck and rolled far on the ground. "What?" A group of thugs were shocked by the scene and screamed. "This is really scary." The scarred man died in front of them like this, but they didn't know how he died. At some point, a black cat appeared at the entrance of the comic shop, with a dark golden pupil in its eyes, and said, "No one can break the master's rules." 35 Both Tsunade and Shizun's pupils shrank suddenly. Shen Ye was still flipping through the comic book, paying no attention to the group of people outside the comic store. Is it, a cat? How did it kill the boss? 95 It's just a cat, can it beat so many of us? 35 That's right. Kill it and avenge the boss. Seeing that the murderer who caused the scarred man's strange death was actually a black cat, the group of thugs were startled at first, and then rushed forward with a fierce look. The black cat Yoryuki tilted his head slightly, I really don't know whether to live or die. The black cat Yoryuki turned into an afterimage and rushed out, passing through the crowd in the blink of an eye. Seeking flowers, the 20 or so people behind them stood still as if time and space had stopped. What? Yoryuki yawned lazily. More than 20 people fell to the ground at the same time, and they fell to the ground in a mess. Without exception, they were killed by slitting their throats. The expression was the same as the scarred man just now, and the expression was frozen in the moment before death. The only person left was terrified by this horrific scene. A coldness rushed from the soles of the feet to the top of the head, and the blood in the whole body became cold and cold. What kind of monster is this black cat? In the blink of an eye, these people are all dead. Yoryuki the black cat looked at the last person and smiled, you are lucky, you need a cleaner. The man's thirst for survival fell to his knees and hurriedly said, don't kill me. Let me do anything. Clean up, the owner doesn't like the door getting dirty. The black cat Yoryuki walked back to the comic shop with an elegant catwalk, jumped back on Shen Ye's lap, and regrouped into a group. Outside the comic shop, the man used the strength of milk to quickly clean up the dead. Inside the manga store, Tsunade and Shizune looked at each other and saw the shock in each other's eyes. This black cat, so strong. They didn't feel that way because Yoryuki beat the casino thugs. With the strength of this group of thugs, only Shizune can take care of them. The reason why Tsunade hides her debts is that she is not the kind of person who has no gambling products and beats people when she loses money. The key is that the black cat just killed these people in an instant, but with their eyesight, they didn't catch any movement of the black cat. It's almost here ultimate. The last one that gave Tsunade this feeling was 4th Hokage, known as the Yellow Flash. And the black cat with such strength is only the owner of the comic shop, Pet. Tsunade and Shizune looked at Shen Ye who was playing with the cat there. They didn't realize until now that they seemed to have entered a terrible comic shop. Tsunade and Shizune looked down at the manga in their hands, and began to wonder about the reward the boss just said. They hadn't taken the reward to heart just now, but now it seems that it may not be so. Simple. Chapter 0187. Tsunade and Shizune both revisited the manga. Soon there were no distractions, and I was completely attracted by the plot in the comics. Even Tsunade, who has never read the manga, still holds the fairy tale with relish and laughs from time to time. Shen Ye looked at the system panel. Host, Shen Ye Comic, Hokage Ninja, Part 1, One Piece, Grand Line, 100,000 Bad Jokes, Part 1, Do Soul, Part 1, Assassin Wu Lai Hoki, One Punch Man, Part 1 Shinigami. Soul Society Extraction, Receive 10 customers can extract a comic book, received, 10/10 people, can extract, one-time task, accumulate 200 customers, get a mysterious reward, 34/200 people have been received. Shen Ye saw that the number of people was just enough to draw comics once, and said to the system, extract comics 063 start drawing, extracting comics, Brother Corpse, Part 1 Brother Corpse, Part 1, 2 tomb robbers dug up a 1,000-year-old coffin and wanted to sell it, but they didn't want the coffin to fall out of the carriage during transportation and fell into the reservoir in H City. Inside the coffin was Long Yu, who searched for the immortal medicine for the king thousands of years ago, carrying the corpse brother virus on his body. The coffin fell into the water, and the virus suddenly polluted the water supply of the entire H City. Anyone who drank contaminated water would become an irrational, cannibalistic corpse. The entire H City fell overnight. The male protagonist Bai Xiaofei escaped because he didn't drink tap water, but in order to find his girlfriend Xiao Yi who broke up with him on the phone, he began to embark on the road of confronting the corpse brothers in the city. Brother Corpse? This is fine. Shen Ye smiled when he saw the newly drawn cartoon. Brother Corpse is a well-known apocalypse-themed national comic in the previous life. Because of its fusion of horror themes and funny styles, it quickly became popular at the time when it appeared. Moreover, although zombie is a zombie theme, there are many abilities, martial arts, and super technology in it. If anyone is lucky enough to draw the heart of the phoenix, they can even live forever. Shen Ye waved it casually. Zombie manga automatically falls on the bookshelf. Soon, a blue-green short-haired girl in a white short skirt stopped by the comic shop and stopped. When did the comic shop open here? Arya Manga Store. Hee, the name is very interesting, go in and have a look. 35 The girl smiled at the sign of the comic shop, walked into the comic shop, and waved her hands lively, hello, boss. Well, do you read comics? Shen Ye laughed. I didn't expect to meet Fu of Seven Tails Jinkriki here. However, Fu was originally a Takigaku ninja, and it was normal to meet him in the country of Taki. Fu looked at the bookshelf like a curious baby and asked, boss, do you have any funny comics here? Shen Ye introduced, 100,000 cold jokes, Assassin Wu Liuki and many comics are very funny. By the way, there is also the newly arrived Brother Corpse comic, which is very interesting. 99 There are so many? Hey, I want to read one. The first time I watched 5,000 Taels, I could only read one book a day, and the price doubled every time after that. So expensive? Fu smacks her tongue. Shen Ye smiled and said, after reading the comics, you can get a 100% random reward from the comics. Any rewards? When Fu heard this sentence, her eyes lit up immediately, and without hesitation, she paid the money and went to the bookshelf to choose comics. Just as Fu was about to leave, she suddenly turned her head and said, boss, can you make friends with me? My name is Fu, and I am Jenin from Takiyan village. My goal is to make 100 friends, and now I have 14, hee. 99 Can. Shen Ye smiled and did not reject this optimistic girl. Then we are friends. Fu was happy because she made another friend, and chose to choose from the bookshelf, and finally chose the Brother Corpse Part 1. Fu sat in the seat and opened the comics with anticipation. Soon, Fu was attracted by the settings in Brother Corpse's comics. Zombies have long been the subject of rotten streets in their previous lives, and no matter how many movies, novels, or anime, I don't know how many. However, this subject matter is still unheard of in the ninja world. As long as you are bitten and caught, you will be infected, and the horror of turning into a corpse brother who has evolved into cannibalism, the girl who sees Fu also raises her heart. However, this sense of horror was soon torn apart by the author's teasing style. All kinds of saucy lines and various saucy manipulations made Fu laugh. Looking back, it was still very funny, but Fu gradually burst into tears. Disaster strikes, order collapses. But in this desperate world, there are still people who are creating hope. Bai Xiaofei and the others came to the building in order to find the mother for the deer. There are not many bullets in Brother Gui's gun, and the Gecko Corpse brother on the other side has caught up. Brother Gui chose to lead away the Gecko Corpse by himself. He knew he would die if he did, but he did it anyway. Because he wants to let Bai Xiaofei and Xiaoluo live, he has to be worthy of this military uniform that represents honor and responsibility. Brother Gui smiled freely and never returned. This scene made Fu's eyes turn red. An hour passed. After watching Shinigami, Shizuan was still reminiscing about the plot of Shinigami's manga, smacking his tongue. I can't believe that Aizen would actually be the villain, this reversal is really, Shizuan was suddenly stunned when he saw the black cat lying on Shen Ye's lap. Inexplicably, she felt that this black cat was a bit like Yoryuki in the Shinigami manga. Yoryuki in the manga usually likes to look like a black cat, and Grandmaster Shunpo and White Hits are known as Flash Goddess. Shouldn't it be? Soon, Shizuan shook his head, denying his absurd assumption. How is this possible? How do characters from comics appear in reality? At this time, System Information Refresh. Customer Shizuan has finished reading Shinigami Soul Society and obtained Zanpakut Hisagomaru Zanpakut of Yamada Hanadaru, 7th seat of Godi I-13 Division 4. When slashing at the opponent's wound 5.6, it can absorb the damage to heal the opponent. When the absorbed damage reaches the limit, it will automatically enter the Shikai state, which can completely release the absorbed damage to the enemy, with enough power to kill Jillian-level Minos Grande. When the absorbed damage does not reach the limit, you need to speak the liberating language to Shikai, but the damage to the opponent will be relatively reduced. A dazzling light fell on Shizuan. As the rays of light flowed, an elongated object slowly solidified. Shizuan was shocked. This is? Even Tsunade Kazufu, who was reading the manga, stopped and looked at the dazzling light with surprise. Suddenly, the light fades. Shizuan had an extra long knife in his hand. Shizuan looked at the sword with the soul flowing in his hand, and said in shock, "Boss, isn't this Zanpakuto? 35. Chapter 0188. Shen Ye said, that's right. This is Zanpakuto, Hisagomaru of Yamada Hanataru. Absorbs the target's damage and heals the target. Then convert the absorbed damage into an attack and release it. Although Yamada Hanataro's strength is weak, his Zanpakuto ability is very good. Absorbs damage and turns it into an attack. It's an ability that medical ninjas can only dream of. Can it absorb injuries and release them as an attack? Even Tsunade, the #1 medical ninja in the ninja world, was moved when he heard Hisagomaru's abilities. There are countless ninjutsu used to heal wounds, but it is the first time she has heard of the idea of absorbing damage and then converting it into attack. And that's the power of a knife. Shizun was shocked that Zanpakuto, who existed in the Shinigami manga, actually appeared in front of him. In order to test Hisagomaru's ability, Shizun used kunao to cut a wound on his hand, and then pointed Hisagomaru at the wound, with the thought of absorption in his heart. At once, a hazy light floated from the wound and fell into the knife. And the wound on the hand is already intact, not even a trace of scar is left. Really absorbed the injury into the knife. 15. 35. It's not a treatment like medical ninjutsu, but it absorbs the injury. It's amazing. 99. Witnessing this scene with their own eyes, both Tsunade and Shizun set off a storm in their hearts. It's actually true. A knife from the Shinigami world that can absorb injuries. Tsunade looked at Shen Ye with beautiful eyes, and there was an unimaginable vibration in it. At this moment, she felt that her worldview had been turned upside down. Is there such a bizarre thing as reading comics and getting rewards from comics? What shocked her even more was, who is the owner of this comic shop, who can open such an incredible comic shop? Fu saw Shizun's reward sluggish for a while, then excited. You were definitely right. This comic shop is so much fun. Shizun came outside the manga store, held Hisagomaru, and said softly, full load, Hisagomaru. Liberation language fell. Zanpakuto shrouded in light and turned into a delicately shaped scalpel. Shizun's eyes flashed, and the scalpel waved. A red blade slashed out from the blade, leaving a deep slash on the rock. Really release the absorbed injury. It's amazing. Shizun held Hisagomaru and couldn't put it down. Such a Zanpakuto, which can absorb and release injuries, is definitely a rare treasure for medical ninjas. Tsunade remembered the fairy tale manga he had read, and suddenly became extremely looking forward to it. So, you can also get rewards from fairy tale? If you can reward a bunch of gold coins. Hey, you can go to the casino and gamble. As soon as the idea popped up, Tsunade hurried back to read the manga for his gold coins. Shizun studied the Hisagomaru he had just obtained, and suddenly turned his attention to the piggy pig. When he met Shizun's eyes, Dopu was so frightened that he quickly backed away. 10 minutes passed. Tsunade finally finished reading the fairy tale manga, stretched his waist, and exclaimed, this manga is really good, and I'm almost on fire when I see it. At this time, system information refresh. Customer Senju Tsunade has finished reading Shinigami Soul Society, and obtained, Avery Gore Eligal. The president of the Iron Forest Guild under the command of the 6 demon generals, who is good at using wind magic, and is known as Shinigami because he only accepts assassination missions. A brilliant light fell. Tsunade looked at the light with anticipation. This feeling of being completely mysterious until the rewards are handed out is just too red chicken, even more red chicken than gambling. I saw a shape similar to a human figure vaguely emerging from the light. Tsunade's expression darkened. Why do you have a bad premonition? On my own terms. Forget it, don't mention your luck. Since Grandpa and his old man left, it seems that he has never won anyone again. The light fades. A white-haired man with a Shinigami scythe was revealed. It's the guy who was defeated by Natsu at the beginning. Tsunade's expression suddenly collapsed, as if he had missed hundreds of millions. Eli Gore looked gloomy, looked at Tsunade, and said coldly, which sorcerer's guild are you from? How did you get me here? What sorcerer's guild? Tsunade hugged Hun and said, this is the world of ninjas, not your world. Eli Goyle raised his Shinigami scythe to Tsunade, and said coldly, woman, what are you talking about? Do you know who you are talking to? 5. Tsunade narrowed his eyes, I advise you not to point your broken stick at me. Laozi is Shinigami Eli Gore. Eli Gore was swirling around his body and slowly floated up into the air, his eyes staring in all directions, and proudly said, General of the 6 demons. Bang! Before Eli Goyle could finish speaking, Tsunade threw him out of the manga shop with a simple punch. Eli Goyer raised his hand and rolled up the wind, his eyes were fierce, and he said coldly, "A woman who doesn't know whether to live or die. Just let you see." Bang! There is no other way, only use this trick. Bang! In this world, Bang! Shen Ye felt pain for Eli Goer. Shouldn't this thing be the bloodline left in the fairy tale world by some traverser from the Uchiha family? This style of saying the harshest words and being beaten the most is very similar to the Uchiha family. 2 minutes later, Tsunade stopped. Eli Goyle, who was beaten by a small fist, lay on the ground. 063 twitched all over. Tsunade snorted, "I'm so lucky to get this kind of guy. Shizuan, let's go." Yes. Shizuan put away Zanpakut and hurriedly followed. "By the way, boss." 99 Tsunade suddenly turned his head and smiled and asked, "What time do you open?" 39 Shen Ye stroked the black cat and said, "I'm only here tonight, and I'll go back to Konoha tomorrow." The leaves? Hearing this, Tsunade and Shizuan were taken aback. They didn't expect that this comic shop that could draw otherworld items was actually from Konoha. When did Konoha have such an unfathomable manga shop owner? Now, the corners of Tsunade's pink lips curled up. "Okay, I remember. This comic shop is more fun than a casino. It's been a long time since I went back to Konoha, so it would be nice if I had the chance to go back." Tsunade and Shizuan leave. Fu read the Zombie Brother comics at this time, tears in her eyes, and she reluctantly said, "How could Xiaowai die? Isn't she the heroine? Why did she die like this?" She did not expect that Xiaowai, who she had always thought was the heroine, would die like this. The scene where Xiaowai used her body to keep Bai Xiaofei warm that night was still vivid in her mind. Even if she was taken away by the corpse Wang Lanju, she always believed that Bai Xiaofei would rescue Xiaowai. As a result, Xiaowai was caught by the Blood Lotus sect master, and in order not to drag her down, she chose to commit suicide, and was buried by Xiaofei. Chapter 0189. Drawing Xiaowai to death. "It's too damn it, I'm going to send the author a blade. No, I'm going to send the author tailed beast bomb. Send 10. Fu said with tears in her eyes. At the same time, a system information refresh. Customer Fu has finished reading Brother Corpse Part 1 and obtained Thermite Humiliation Sticker. Thermite Humiliation Sticker, the ultimate meaning used by Bai Xiaofei when dealing with weird scientists. Tape the thermite on the target's end sub, and when ignited, it will produce a violent reaction, releasing heat up to 2500 degrees Celsius, and even the iron can be melted. Bai Xiaofei used this trick to burn through the weird scientist's nub instantly, killing the weird scientist. "I am a humiliating post, when I will burn through all the naughty sons in the world." Shen Ye's mouth twitched. The introduction of the system is getting more and more coquettish. "If you humiliate you will humiliate it," learn some lines from Emperor Yetian. "I see the system that you are the peak at the end of the show, and the system is empty when I see it." Buzz, a splendid ray of light fell on Fu's palm. Fu broke away from her sadness and looked at the light, her eyes flashing with anticipation. "What will it be? What will it be?" The light fades, a crudely shaped thermite insult sticker was revealed. Fu looked at the thing in her hand for a moment, feeling that it was a bit familiar but couldn't remember it, and asked, "Boss, this is it? Thermite humiliation sticker. What is the use? You can burn whoever is not pleasing to the eye." 35 Shen Ye is serious. "What?" Fu was so frightened that she covered her front. Soon Fu blushed and let go of her hand. "After thinking about it, I still put this incomparably evil thermite humiliation sticker in the ninja kit." Fu's face filled with the cheerful and optimistic smile again, and said, "Brother Zhe is so good looking, I really hope that in the next movie, Bai Xiaofei can avenge Xiaowai and kill the Blood Lotus sect master. By the way, boss, your comic shop is usually in Konoha, right? When I have time, I will go to Konoha to read manga. Bye bye." Fu winked playfully and waved away. Shen Ye also smiled and waved. Not long after Fu had left the manga shop, he happened to meet Tsunade and Shizuan, who were worried about lack of money for accommodation. "It's you, 35." Seeing Tsunade and Shizuan, Fu waved her hand happily and said with a cheerful smile, "It's really fate, we meet again, do you want to be friends?" Tsunade thought Fu was a very interesting girl, and said, "No problem. I've made 17 friends and I'm getting closer to my goal of 100. Fu was very happy and couldn't help but look at Tsunade's one, then looked down at her own and exclaimed, yours is so big. Tsunade put his arms around Fu and said with a sly smile, do you want to know why? Think. Fu nodded like a chicken pecking at rice. Of course he was drinking. Can you grow that after drinking? Of course. Tsunade said boldly, how about you, do you want to go for a drink together? Would you like to drink with me? We are friends, but you want a treat. 35 No problem. Would you like to stay with us tonight? Still living together? You are the best friends I've ever met. We're friends, but you want a treat. No problem. No problem. 35 A black line hangs down Shizun's forehead. This little mushroom is too simple, right? Hey, weasel. Kisame of same hata, dressed in a red cloud and black robe and wearing a white bandage on his back, said to Uchiha Itachi next to him, do you agree with Pain's plan too? 39 Uchiha Itachi looked indifferent and said, Pain's plan is the safest and most suitable for the current Akatsuki. Suddenly, Uchiha Itachi stopped abruptly. Sharingan, who seemed to have no emotion at first, opened his eyes wide, as if he saw something incredible. Kisame asked in amazement, what's wrong? Kisame followed Uchiha Itachi's gaze, and his pupil shrank, no way? Arya Manga Store. Isn't that name the manga shop in Konoha? How did it appear in Taki no Country? You remember the first time Sasori and Deidara met that manga shop, in the Land of Waves. Uchiha Itachi quickly regained his calm, and the Sharingan shone with light, saying, this comic shop can create magical things that do not belong to the ninja world, and it is not surprising to appear here. Hey hey! Kisame smiled, but the sharp triangular teeth made people shudder, and smiled, then we are really lucky, we don't have to run to Konoha. Let's go and have a look. Uchiha Itachi also has a strong interest in manga shops. Ability to create items from comics, and to summon creatures from comics. As long as you are lucky, you can even directly gain strength beyond cage level. What will this comic shop be like, which makes the 5 countries and the Akatsuki organization so enthusiastic and in awe? Uchiha Itachi and Kisame walk into the manga store. Inside the comic shop, Shen Ye leaned back on the chair, stroked the black cat on his lap, and showed a touch of interest when he saw the 2 people entering the store. Isn't this Unii-san of Urzuzi? And Hoshigaki Kisame? Shen Ye asked, do you want to watch the comics? I don't know how to charge, Uchiha Itachi asked. The first time I watched 5,000 Taels, I could only read 1 book a day, and the price doubled every time after that. 35 Shen Ye said, after reading the comics, 100% randomly get a reward from the comics. Uchiha Itachi and Kisame can already be sure. This is that comic shop. Kisame couldn't help but feel a little excited. Whether Sasori and Deidara or Kakuzu and Haiden. As long as people who have been to a comic store, all have a high evaluation of the comic store. Said he was itching. Now I finally have the chance to experience it for myself. Uchiha Itachi took out 10,000 taels and put them on the cashier counter, and said, boss, this is for the 2 of us. Shen Ye took the money and said, the comics are all on the bookshelf, choose them yourself. 35 Uchiha Itachi came to the bookshelf of Wang Hao, and was startled when he saw Hokage Ninja, upper part with Naruto as the cover. Hokage-themed manga? Kakuzu and the others didn't say that there are comics based on the ninja world in the comic shop. And the person on the cover is Nine Tails Jinchuriki, who is in the same class as Sasuke, and his name is Naruto? Although he is in the Akatsuki organization, he has always paid attention to Sasuke. He knew that both Sasuke and Naruto were members of the Kakashi class. Coincidentally, when he first joined Konoha Anbu, Kakashi was his captain. As the years passed, Sasuke became Kakashi's student again. So what will be the plot of this Hokage manga with Naruto as the cover? Is it the Naruto story, or what? Uchiha Itachi suddenly had a lot of ideas in his mind, and without looking at other manga, he picked up the Hokage manga directly. Kisame took a fancy to One Punch Man Part 1 on the bookshelf at a glance, and smiled, this bald head looks very happy, that's all. Chapter 0190. Uchiha Itachi and Onishima sat on their seats and read the manga. No wonder Deidara and Haiden both said that the comics in this comic shop are good looking, and they look really cool, hehe. Kisame watched with relish while holding a punch. Although the protagonist Saitama has a soy sauce painting style, his strength is beyond the table. There's no problem that can't be solved with one punch. Kisame's blood boils in the tight-paced, well-rounded crush-style battles. Don't say anything about rewarding or not rewarding. Just spending 5,000 taels to watch such an enjoyable comic is worth it. The other side, Uchiha Itachi opened the Hokage manga, and his heart skipped a beat as soon as he read the 2 chapters. The male lead of the manga is undoubtedly Naruto, who seals 9 taels in his body. However, he never imagined that his doubted Sasuke would actually be the second male. What the hell is going on with this Hokage manga? Did someone make up a story based on Naruto and Sasuke, or something else? If it's just the former, that's fine. But if there are other things, then this comic is worth scrutinizing. This manga gives Uchiha Itachi a very unsightly feeling. This feeling comes purely from intuition. Although there is no reason for it, 063 is that this intuition is often accurate. Uchiha Itachi watched carefully. Kakashi became the instructor of the 3 of Naruto. When asked about their dreams, Sasuke said with a cold expression, "I want to revive the Uchiha clan and kill that man." Seeing Sasuke's words, Uchiha Itachi's eyes darkened. Everyone in the world thought he was a rebel who killed the whole family and defected from the village. But no one knows that because of the death of his friend Uchiha Shisui, he understands that he is increasingly dissatisfied with the high-level Konoha, and the Uchiha clan who are ready to rebel and seize sovereignty are irreversible. Rather than letting the Uchiha family bear the infamy and get rid of it by Konoha, it is better to end it all with the infamy. He made an agreement with the senior officials of Konoha, and he can get rid of the Uchiha family for Konoha. The only condition is that Konoha will not attack Sasuke. Konoha executives agreed. On the night of the Uchiha clan's premeditated coup d'état, he teamed up with the Uchiha Madara, who showed up on his own initiative to destroy all the Uchiha clan except Sasuke, including his parents. He defected from Konoha with the infamy scorned by the world and joined Akatsuki ever since. As for Sasuke's hatred for him, that's what he wants. He hopes that Sasuke will continue to grow stronger because of his hatred for himself, and then let himself die in Sasuke's hands, so that Sasuke can become a hero of Konoha and be recognized by everyone, and the Uchiha family will spread their branches in Konoha again. What moved him was. The manga writers seemed to be familiar with these, drawing Sasuke's indifference and hatred vividly. It was as if a living Sasuke was standing in front of him. If it wasn't for someone who knew Sasuke's heart very well, he wouldn't be able to draw this feeling. During the next Chunin exam, Sasuke meets Orochimaru. Orochimaru looked at Sharingan, who was assisted by Commander, and left a curse mark on Sasuke, waiting for Sasuke to turn to him one day. Orochimaru once tried to take his Sharingan, but was wounded by him. It makes perfect sense to say that Orochimaru was defeated by himself and Sasuke's idea. Could it be that? Uchiha Itachi's pupils shrank fiercely. He finally wanted to understand what made him feel that this comic was not simple. This Hokage manga perfectly echoes everything in reality. The characters in the manga are exactly the same as those Konoha shinobi he is familiar with. The things in the comics also correspond exactly to the history of Konoha that he knows. This is not something that can be accomplished simply by being familiar with it. A terrible thought suddenly appeared in Uchiha Itachi's mind, which instantly made him feel a little creepy. If these are not stories, but real. Uchiha Itachi quickly stopped thinking about this terrible, BFFG, thought and continued to read the manga. Sasuke's spell in the manga was temporarily suppressed by Kakashi. Sasuke fought Gaara in the 3rd round of the Chunin exam, causing Gaara to run wild, and Orochimaru and Sand Shinobi teamed up to raid Konoha. Sarutobi Hiruzen was killed and Orochimaru escaped. And then, a plot that shocked Uchiha Itachi even more came. The self in the manga has appeared. In the manga, he and Kisame appeared in Konoha, first confronting Asuma, and then fighting with Might Guy Kakashi, hitting Kakashi with Tsukuyomi. However, he was also taken away by Kisame for physical reasons, so he left Konoha. Sasuke immediately tracked down the news about him, but he tortured his spirit with Tsukuyomi, while stimulating Sasuke was too weak and hatred was not enough. Uchiha Itachi's eyes became deeper and deeper, as if he could not see the bottom of the abyss. Seeing this, he can already be sure. This Hokage manga is far from a fictional story. If Sarutobi Hiruzen really died, he would definitely go to Konoha to warn Danzo not to do anything to Sasuke. Sasuke knew that his news would surely follow. He will also use the same method as in the manga to stimulate Sasuke. Is this just a coincidence? Uchiha Itachi doesn't believe in such a coincidence. His heart fluttered. I'm afraid there's a big secret hidden in this Hokage manga. Kisame read the One Punch manga at this time, and praised, it's a really enjoyable manga, and I'm actually looking forward to the next one. He didn't expect that he would find the long-lost blood in a cartoon. The only downside is, too short. Not enough to watch. At the same time, system information refresh. Customer Hoshigaki Kisame has finished reading One Punch Man Part 1, and got, Body of Deep Poseidon. Deep Poseidon's body, the physique of the sea people's leader, Deep Poseidon. Even in a state of water shortage, it has the strength to crush several A-level heroes and even S-level heroes' sexy prisoners. When the body is fully hydrated, it will burst out 100% of its combat effectiveness. A splendid light fell, covering Kisame. Kisame felt a mighty force pouring into him. Every cell in the body undergoes dramatic changes. The body swelled sharply, and the body drummed with power, and there was an indescribable sense of power control. A moment, the light dissipates. Kisame, who was originally 195 centimeters tall, grew to more than 2.30 meters. The muscles bulge like a knotted root, and the skin is covered with fine scales with strong defenses, exuding a ferocious bloody smell. Chapter 0191. Kisame looked at the amazing changes in his body and felt the surging power inside his body. With surprise, he asked Shen Ye, "Boss, what kind of reward is this for me?" "Hey, it feels amazing." He could clearly feel that his strength, speed, and defense had all improved by a whole notch. Especially in terms of defense, it is difficult for ordinary weapons to break even his skin. Even if he doesn't use ninjutsu now, just this body is already full of lethal power, and this feeling is simply not too good. The body of Deep Poseidon. Shen Ye said, "Now you have a Deep Poseidon physique." The body of Deep Poseidon. Kisame was stunned when he heard the words, and immediately, ecstasy. Deep Poseidon is the leader of the sea people in the One Punch comics, leading the sea people to attack the humans on the land. Although the combat power dropped sharply in the water shortage state after landing, he still killed A-level heroes such as Stinger and Max with one blow, and easily defeated the sexy prisoner. After a light rain, after replenishing the water, Shen Poseidon's combat effectiveness was improved in all aspects. Sonic's punches and kicks did not work for him at all, and even Genos was defeated strongly. From the perspective of record, Deep Poseidon is already the pinnacle of ghost-level disasters, chasing dragon-level disasters. It is not much better than the performance of the Underground King and the Sky King, who are tied with him as the three kings. With Kisame's water-style chakra, which is comparable to the tailed beast, there is no water shortage at all, and it can show the heyday of the Deep Poseidon at any time. Kisame can now understand how Kakuzu, Haiden, and Sasori felt when they received the reward. Just reading this manga can make your strength soar. Those who have not experienced it themselves cannot understand how wonderful it is. Stupid Hidaudu. Uchiha Ataka's Hokage manga also saw its end at this time. In the end, Sasuke hated himself for his powerlessness in the face of his brother. Seeing that Naruto was far superior to him, he chose to defect to Konoha and seek strength from Orochimaru. Naruto and the others tried to recover Sasuke, but they failed in the end. Uchiha Ataka's eyes dimmed. He knew that Sasuke had suffered as much pain over the years as he had. The huge Uchiha clan was the only one left from that night. And the person who killed the entire Uchiha clan and even their parents was the elder brother whom he once admired so much. All that was left for him was endless hatred. However, he was very fortunate that when Sasuke went dark, there was still Naruto, a brother in the comics, who did not give up on him, and was willing to do anything to save him. At the end of the comic, the Akatsuki organization appears, and Pain speaks out about the plan to capture the tailed beast. Uchiha Ataka was shocked. Are there any plans for Akatsuki's organization in the manga? Why does this comic seem to know everything? Suddenly, a very bold and even absurd idea appeared in his mind. This comic could be a real future. But this future is gradually being rewritten, out of the trajectory in the comics. Thinking of this, a drop of cold sweat dripped down Uchiha Ataka's forehead. The more I think about it, the more likely it is. Uchiha Ataka is looking forward to the next part of the Hokage manga. What will happen to Sasuke at Orochimaru? Can Naruto really save Sasuke's heart? What will happen to the Sia organization in the end? Will I be able to die at the hands of Sasuke and make Sasuke the hero of Konoha? He had a hunch that all of this would happen in the lower part of the Hokage manga. At this time, system information refresh. Customer Uchiha Ataka has finished reading Hokage Ninja, Part 1, and got, Uchiha Hatake Transformation Card. Uchiha Hatake Transformation Card. Uchiha Hatake is a genius ninja of the Uchiha family, with Konoha in his heart, and not only limited to his own family. After Uchiha Shisui was killed, in order to protect Konoha from the war and keep the honor of the Uchiha clan, Uchiha Hatake was forced to accept the task of exterminating the clan from Danzo, leaving only his younger brother Sasuke alone, and then joined the Akatsuki organization to become an undercover agent. Use this transformation card to transform into Uchiha Hatake and gain all the abilities of Uchiha Hatake for 24 hours, or you can choose to end it. When the transformation card ends, the damage and negative effects suffered during the transformation will be automatically cleared. Shen Ye admired. Uchiha Hatake draws Uchiha Hatake transformation card. This action is really rude. At this moment, a brilliant light descended. The light fell on Uchiha Hatake's hand. Uchiha Hatake's Sharingan is also curious about what rewards he will get. The light dissipated. Uchiha Hatake has an extra black card in his hand. On the card, a familiar image was imprinted. This person is, me? Uchiha Hatake looked at Shen Ye, and said a little confusedly, Boss, what does this mean? 35 Uchiha Hatake Transformation Card. Uchiha Hatake, Transformation Card. Uchiha Hatake said, what's the use? Shen Ye took a sip of black tea and said, you can transform into Uchiha Hatake. Uchiha Hatake, I became, myself? What do I need this reward for? What if I want this transformation? 0. Kisame next to him also looked weird. Become yourself. This reward is really good. Shen Ye said, it's not useless. When the transformation card ends, the damage and negative effects suffered during the transformation will disappear. Hearing this, Uchiha Hatake balanced a little. Then it's still useful when necessary. Soon, Uchiha Hatake's expression became solemn. Since you can get your own transformation card, it means that this Hokage manga, like other manga, can get everything in the manga randomly. Whether it is Manjiki Sharingan, Rinnegan, Sage Body, etc., even the legendary Sage of Six Paths may be summoned. Moreover, the secrets contained in the comics are enough to cause a sensation in the entire ninja world. Uchiha Hatake looked at Shen Ye. The owner of the comic shop is really unfathomable, and there are even such comics that are completely connected with reality. I don't know what the future of the ninja world will look like under the change of this comic shop. Boss, are you still here tomorrow? Kisame asked. Not to mention the reward, just the plot and setting of the One Punch comic made his blood boil. It's not enough to just read one such good-looking manga. Shen Ye chuckled, tomorrow I will return to Konoha, if you want to read comics, you can come to Konoha to find me. Okay then. Guessing the result, Kisame could only shake his head helplessly. Uchiha Hatake walks out of the manga store with Oni. Shark. Chapter 0192. Uchiha Hatake and Kisame leave the manga shop and walk out of town. Uchiha Hatake is still thinking about Sasuke in the manga. Kisame suddenly asked, Itake, what comics are you reading? Can you draw out your own transformation card? The rule of the comic shop is that after reading the comic, you will get a random reward from the comic. Uchiha Hatake got his own transformation card, which means Uchiha Hatake is also in that manga. This made Kisame curious. How did Uchiha Hatake appear in the manga? Uchiha Hatake retracted his thoughts and said, it's a manga about this ninja world. He didn't have to hide and couldn't hide things about Hokage's comics, and it would soon be known to the ninja world. About the ninja world? 99 Kisame was stunned. Not waiting for Uchiha Hatake to speak. Across the road, there was an elegant man wearing a white haori and black 063 kimono. There was a faint smile on the man's face, but he naturally showed an air of detachment, as if he was a master of everything. The moment they saw the man, Uchiha Hatake and Kisame's eyes suddenly changed. Aizensuke. A strong man from Shinigami manga. When Akatsuki organized a meeting, Kakuzu used ninjutsu to impersonate him, so the two recognized him at once. They didn't know why Aizen appeared here, but they didn't dare to be careless in the face of the latter. According to information provided by Kakuzu, Aizen's Zanpakuto Kaika Suijutsu has complete control over other people's five senses. In other words, just hit Aizen's Kaika Suijutsu. As long as he thinks, what you see, what you hear, what you smell, what you touch, even what you taste, are all fake. With Kaika Suijutsu, there is almost no hope of a comeback. Moreover, the most terrifying point is that you don't know when you will hit his Kaika Suijutsu, let alone realize that you are already in the illusion created by Aizen, full of unknown and extremely terrifying abilities. Uchiha Attacker's Sharingan turned, the three hooked jade joined together and turned into Manjiki Sharingan, and whispered, Kisame, close your eyes. Kisame didn't talk nonsense and closed his eyes immediately. Since combining with Uchiha Attacker, he has long been accustomed to Uchiha Attacker making battle plans, and he is only responsible for execution. And Uchiha Attacker is one of the few illusion masters in the ninja world, and it is the most suitable for him to deal with Aizen with similar abilities. Looks like you guys know me. Aizen looked at the two and smiled lightly. He was just passing by here, and he didn't expect to meet someone who recognized him. He set his eyes on Uchiha Attacker's eyes. He collected a lot of ninja memories and recognized Uchiha Attacker's pair of Manjiki Sharingan, which only geniuses of the Uchiha bloodline have the chance to open. He is somewhat interested in Sharingan. Unexpectedly, I actually met an owner. Rustling the wind blew the leaves, rustling. A strand of hair on Aizen's forehead fluttered, looked at Uchiha Attacker, and smiled lightly, knowing my Kaika Suijutsu's ability, yet you dare to look directly at me like this, your confidence is those eyes. But do you think this can stop me? Aizen stepped out of Shunpo and appeared in front of Uchiha Attacker like a spatial displacement. So fast. Uchiha Attacker was shocked, almost subconsciously, and the Manjiki Sharingan in his left eye suddenly turned. Tsukuyomi. Uchiha Attacker launches Tsukuyomi. The world scene changed suddenly. In a world of black and white like photographic negatives, a blood-red moon hangs high above the darkness. The blood moon looked down on this world like an evil eye pupil, and the time and space seemed to freeze here, and there was only death. Aizen moved for a while in the Tsukuyomi world, looked at Uchiha Attacker, and smiled, interesting, illusion. 99 Welcome to the world of Tsukuyomi, where time, quality, and other things are completely under my control. Uchiha Attacker's eyes were indifferent, and he said, I heard that your Kaika Suijutsu can completely control people's five senses, but here you have no chance to use it. The voice fell. Aizen suddenly found himself strangely tied to a cross-shaped stake. There were countless Uchiha Attacker holding long swords around, with an indifferent expression, and slowly raised the sword in his hand. Tsukuyomi is one of the two major abilities of Uchiha Attacker's Manjiki Sharingan. It can pull the target into the spiritual world created by him and let himself be slaughtered. It can severely damage the spirit or even kill it directly. It is known as the strongest spiritual attack. A very interesting illusion. The corners of Aizen's mouth raised slightly, and she always sang with a confident smile, however, when did you have the illusion that I didn't use Kaika Suijutsu? Uchiha Attacker's Manjiki Sharingan shrank. You thought I was in your Tsukuyomi, but you were in my Kaika Suijutsu earlier than this. 35 Aizen slowly stepped down from the cross and stepped on the rippling black water. As it fell step by step, the Tsukuyomi world kept collapsing. The sky shattered, the earth collapsed, the blood moon turned to dust, and eventually the entire Tsukuyomi world collapsed. Uchiha Attacker, who had used Tsukuyomi, turned pale and looked at Aizen with a solemn expression. Kaika Suijutsu's abilities are truly terrifying. I didn't know when I was hit, I was in Kaika Suijutsu, and even the successful use of Tsukuyomi on Aizen was just an illusion created by Aizen. Aizen walked towards Uchiha Attacker and chuckled, I have to say, your ability called Tsukuyomi is indeed worthy of praise, I am more interested in your eyes. Uchiha Attacker rushes. Aizen said, in Kaika Suijutsu, do you think you still have a chance against me? How do you know that I really fell for your Kaika Suijutsu? Uchiha Attacker's expression changed suddenly. The weakness just now is gone, and at the same time out of Kaika Suijutsu's 5.6 control. As early as the moment he saw Aizen, he used the Uchiha Attacker transformation card just to be cautious. And when he removes the transformation card, all the damage and negative effects he suffered during the transformation will be cleared, and Kaika Suijutsu's control will naturally be solved. Aizen's expression changed, he actually broke Kaika Suijutsu. His Kaika Suijutsu was the first time someone had cracked it. Even if it is as strong as the captain of Yamamoto, Kaika Suijutsu can't get rid of it. But the man in front of him did it. Susanoo. Unleashing Kaika Suijutsu's control, Uchiha Attacker Manjiki Sharingan is red with blood. A red armored giant emerged behind him. Susanoo has a Yata mirror in his left hand, a 10-fist sword in his right hand, and the chakra around his body rises like blood-red flames, exuding a terrifying power that seems to destroy the sky and destroy the earth. 0193. The Mangeki Sharingan of Uchiha Itachi slowly shed 2 bloodstains. Susanoo is the third ability of the Mangeki Sharingan, also known as the power of the gods because of its terrifying destructive power. However, it is not only the patron saint summoned by the caster, but also the Shinigami that devours the caster's life, causing irreversible damage to itself every time it is used. But in the face of Aizen, he couldn't hold back. Susanoo wrapped around Uchiha Itachi's upper body, his eyes blazing, exuding a mighty power comparable to that of a god. He raised his 10-punch sword. The red light on the 10-fist sword is blazing, like a red lotus fire from hell. Now, Susanoo slashed with a 10-fist sword. The red glow ultimate erupted, illuminating the surrounding blood red, and the terrifying power seemed to cut off even the space. It's really interesting pupil art. Aizen smiled and drew his knife out of its sheath. The blade of Kaika Suijutsu drew a slender silver trail in the air. Seems like just a bland knife. But a moment later, the peerless sword intent rushed out, awakening the long night. Endless Ryutsu Hwa 15. A splendid light curtain rises against the sky, facing Susanoo's sword with the power to break mountains and seas. Bang, one by one the swords intersected, and the 2 terrifying blue Ryutsu and red chakra collided fiercely. The dazzling blue and red exploded, like a strange sun rising from the earth, dyeing the world half blue and half red. From a distance, it looked like the world was torn in half. Immediately after, a majestic and flaming beam of light rose from the ground, tearing through the sky. It shone 1,000 meters in a radius like daylight. There was a thunderous roar in the air. The rolling waves raged and devoured everything around them like a tidal wave. The earthquake was shattered, and the vast sea of trees was broken. Countless terrifying cracks appeared on the ground like black lightning. The aftermath of the battle gradually dissipated. The figures of Uchiha Itachi and Kisame have disappeared. Aizen's Kaika Suijutsu has also returned to her sheath, and chuckled, Sharingan, what a pair of nice eyes. Apart from Sharingan, Aizen also has some appreciation for Uchiha Itachi. The latter's analysis of combat, as well as the use of abilities, is flawless. To do this at such an age is not an exaggeration to call it a genius. However, he could see that Uchiha Itachi's physical condition was very poor, and he couldn't see the full power of the Mangeki Sharingan, which made him a little regretful. When the 2 disappeared, he had no plans to pursue them. Because he has discovered something more interesting. Aizen looked at the town ahead, saw the comic shop, and chuckled, that comic shop actually came here again? Now that it's past 0, I should be able to read comics. Just the thought of a manga store made Aizen look forward to it, and even the discovery of Hagyaku never made him look forward to it. Comic shops are full of mystery and novelty. It's what he's longed for in the Shinigami world but can't get. For example, the 100,000 experience gained during the day can make Kid, who he already believes to be perfect, gain a higher understanding. And it's something that the Shinigami world will never get, only in manga stores. Aizen took a step forward, and her figure disappeared out of thin air. Somewhere in the forest, the figures of Uchiha Itachi and Kisame appear. Uchiha Itachi was pale and swayed. Kisame hurriedly supported Uchiha Itachi and said, Hey, Itachi, are you alright? Uchiha Itachi is terminally ill, and his body has long been exhausted. And the ability to use Mangeki Sharingan, especially Susanoo, is undoubtedly worse. It's okay, I just used Susanoo for overconsumption. Years Uchiha Itachi said it was fine, saying, that Aizen is very strong, and if the fight continues, the 2 of us will be in danger. Thinking of this, Uchiha Itachi was actually a little fortunate that he was rewarded with his own transformation card, otherwise it would be really dangerous today. Comic shop. Shen Ye sat at the cashier and closed his eyes. The night wind is blowing, and it is comfortable and pleasant. Aizen walked in at this time. Seeing Aizen, Yoryuki, the black cat lying on Shen Ye's lap, suddenly opened his eyes, revealing vigilant and dissatisfied eyes. It was because of Aizen that she and Yura Harakisuke, Hirako Shinji and others had to leave Soul Society. So it's Miss Yoryuki. Aizen smiled, I can't imagine that we can meet again in this world. 5 The black cat Yoryuki snorted coldly, I didn't expect it either. Shen Ye slowly raised his eyelids and said lazily, 10,000. With a faint smile on Aizen's face, he handed over the money. He still remembered the horror of Shen Ye letting himself be slaughtered without even taking a shot during the day. This is the first person who makes him feel that the strength gap is not on one level at all. Aizen came to the bookshelf and glanced at it, took Fate the Long Night of Fate, and sat in one position, looking like he was still turning the pages like a fly, reading very quickly. Shen Ye looked at the time, it was almost 1 o'clock in the morning. It wasn't long before the end time of the branch card. But apart from Aizen, who was reading manga, the manga store only had 5 customers in total. And the best reward among the 5 is a deep Poseidon body. Shen Ye was thinking about whether he could attract a few customers and give himself a better reward, otherwise he would simply waste the advanced version of the branch card reward, when he saw 4 figures passing by the comic shop. Shen Ye's eyes lit up. Isn't this the 4 of them? The 4 members of Onanin, Guidomaru, Zyuajin, Teiwia, and Jerb, are the elite ninjas of the Onanin village. In the original plot, the 4 of them followed Orochimaru to participate in the Konoha destruction plan, and jointly displayed the 4 purple flame formation, trapping 3rd Hokage in it, and even the masters of the Genin level could not break through. The 4 of them came to Konoha to pick up Sasuke and headed to the village of Konoha, but they were killed by the Konoha team who came after him and the Sand Shinobi team who came to support. These 4 people can just be pulled in to read the comics. The 4 of them were walking on the street, and the fat man Jerb suddenly asked, "Why did Lord Orochimaru 063 suddenly ask us to come to Taki no Country base to adjust the experimental subjects?" 35 Fat man, do you still need to explain Orochimaru's decision to you? You only need to perform the task, and you don't need to know the rest. Teiu, who is the only girl among the 4, also coldly shouted. Teiwia, you're a girl anyway, can't you speak better? Jerb was dissatisfied. The 2 of you don't say a word. Sakin said, with 2 human heads on the front and back, it is the Orochimaru experiment that has reached a critical stage, and a large number of high-quality experimental subjects are needed. Only those detained in the Taki no Country base meet the requirements. 35 Kitamura 6 arms folded at the same time, and said, Master Orochimaru locked himself in the experimental base that was said to have been obtained from Zhanhong Comics when he returned from Konoha. I don't know what experiments are going on now, but it seems very excited. I found out that Yakushi Kabuto was squatting when he went to the toilet after returning from Konoha, and when he saw me, he gritted his teeth and said that he never wanted to see a fat man again in his life. Jerb said. I don't know if that manga shop is really that good. Orochimaru-sama and the others have been there. I really want to go too. Kitamura said expectantly. Zojin waved his hand, the comic shop is in Konoha, so you don't want to go there as soon as you say it, you should hurry to the base, you delay the experiment of Lord Orochimaru, you know what the consequences will be. At this time, a faint laughter sounded. A few, do you want to read the comics? Chapter 0194. Who is it? Hearing the sound, the 4 of them turned to look in the direction the sound came from. I saw a young man sitting at the cash register in a small shop with a plaque of Arya manga store. Just what he said. Just as Kitong Mera was about to open his mouth, his expression changed suddenly when he saw the name on the plaque. He suddenly thought of the manga shop he had just mentioned, and said in shock, Hey, shouldn't this be the manga that Orochimaru-sama said about? Shop? Teiwia's expression also became solemn, and said, with such a special name, there should be no second one in the ninja world. 5 Isn't that manga shop opened in Konoha, how could it appear in the country of Taki? 99 Jerb said, isn't someone pretending to be? Why do you think so much, try it and you'll know. Zojin walked directly into the comic shop and asked, Boss, how does the comic shop charge? 35 Shen Ye said, everyone reads 5,000 taels for the first time, and can only read 1 book a day. After that, the price doubles each time. After reading it, they can get a random reward from the comics. Sure enough, that comic shop. Hearing the unique rules of the entire ninja world, the 4 of them showed shock on their faces, and soon turned into ecstasy. They know exactly what makes this comic shop great. Orochimaru has obtained an otherworld experimental base here, and is immersed in experiments every day. Yakushi Kabuto got a space Tyako here, go wherever you want. Here Kimimaro obtained a devil fruit ability that can turn himself into smoke at will, and normal attacks can't hurt at all. In their opinion, this comic store is a super treasure full of wonders. It's just that they didn't have the opportunity to go to Konoha, but they met here unexpectedly, and they were very excited to think about it. The 4 of them didn't hesitate, they all took out 5,000 taels and walked into the comic shop. Left in bread for double. The other head at the back of his head is actually his brother Zyuakin. You are sleeping in Zojin's body when you are, and only appear when you are fighting. I read this. Teiu also picked up the 10 cold comics. Kidomaru picked up the Digimon manga and said with a smile, "This one looks quite interesting, that's all. I heard that Orochimaru-sama and Yakushi Kabuto read this manga." Gerb found Zhanhong Comics and said with great interest, "I will also draw a good reward. There's still a manga named after Hokage? Just look at him." The brothers Zukin and Yukin ended up opting for the Hokage manga. 4 people sit at a table and read comics. Kitamura was attracted as soon as he opened the Digimon, and the battle of various Digimon was very refreshing. The other 3 also looked very seriously. Even Tei rarely let out a few laughs from time to time. "No way, this comic is so funny. I wanted to endure it, but I couldn't help it at all." The other side. Aizen finished reading the Fate and the Night manga in just a few minutes. Aizen closed the comic book, still reminiscing about the story, and said with sincerity, "It's a really good story." 39 At this time, System Information Refresh. Customer Aizen-suk has finished reading Fate the Long Night of Destiny, and obtained Deviated Sword Deviance Sword. The strongest noble phantasm of the hero King Gilgamesh, and an existence that stands at the apex of all noble phantasms. The blade has no front and is composed of 3 layers of rotating black pillars representing the heaven, the earth, and the underworld. When the Deviance Sword is activated, the body of the sword will turn into 3 terrifying force fields and turn around, triggering the flow of time and space and affecting the space itself. A single blow can completely shatter the target. It is said to be a noble phantasm that possesses the power to sever the world. Golden glittering Deviance Sword? Shen Ye clicked his tongue slightly when he saw Aizen's reward information. Aizen is really enough for the European Emperor. The last time it was Yan Lingwan of Bankai, this time it was Gilgamesh's Deviance Sword. Aizen's luck can envy how many people die. And even in Gilgamesh's Treasure of the King, the Deviance Sword is a well-deserved and strongest noble phantasm. Emi Yashiro's infinite swordsmanship cannot be replicated. However, Gilgamesh would not use the Deviance Sword easily, and once it was used, it would be a devastating scene, and only opponents who got his approval would use the Deviance Sword. Shen Ye smiled. "It's rare, finally a decent reward came out." A dazzling light fell on Aizen's hand. Aizen showed a curious expression. Russia leans, the light dissipates. A black column covered with red patterns and a special shaped sword with a gorgeous golden hilt was revealed. The moment he saw the Deviance Sword, Aizen's expression moved slightly and asked, "This is, the Deviance Sword?" He was most impressed by Gilgamesh when he read the comics. A king full of pride and arrogance. No matter who he is facing, he is always a king. As his strongest noble phantasm, the Deviance Sword showed astonishing destructive power as soon as it appeared. When he was reading the comics, he was very interested in this stray sword, and he didn't expect to actually get it. Shen Ye nodded, "That's right, it's Gilgamesh's stray sword." Aizen held the Deviance Sword, looked at the mysterious red pattern on the sword, and chuckled, "It's good luck." He is very interested in researching this otherworldly noble phantasm. Moreover, the power of the Deviance Sword is very strong, and there are very few people who can compare with it in Zanpakuto. Aizen was very satisfied with the reward, put away the stray sword, and left the comic shop. It's almost time for the comic shop to close. At this time, Taewia finished reading the 10 cold comics, and at the same time began to look forward to the reward. Although this is a funny comic, but the world background is not low. It's enough to give yourself any magic sage art. At this time, System Information Refresh. Customer Do You also has read 100,000 Bad Jokes, Wang Hao, Part 1, and obtained, River God Summoning Card. River God Summoning Card, the illegitimate son of Zeus, the former supreme commander of the Western Universe. In the Eastern Universe, his real name is Hermes, but because he was raised by the god of the Eastern Universe, he served as the river god in the Eastern Universe. The river god lives in the river. Whenever someone's things fall into the river, he will appear and ask others whether they dropped gold or silver. Using the river god summoning card, you can summon the river god once to get gold and silver for a certain item. Buzz one by one. At this moment, a gorgeous light fell. The light fades, a black card is revealed. The card bears the image of a squinting river god. Duo Yu was also startled and looked at Shen Ye. "Boss, what is my reward?" River god summoning card. Shen Ye said, "Using this card, you can summon the river god in Shileng once, and then the river god will let you choose the reward." 35. 0195. Great! When she heard that her reward was the river god summoning card, Duyu's face was filled with joy. The river god in the comics can take out the same item of gold and silver no matter what falls into the river. When the river god asked, as long as he answered truthfully that these two items were not his own, the river god would send them both. The river god is a mythical world. In case you give yourself a golden magic weapon and a silver magic weapon. Without hesitation, do you also use the river god summoning card directly? The card turned into a blue light. An illusory water scene appeared in the air. Ripples on the water. A squinting white-haired youth slowly rose from the water, holding two balls of light in his hands. Taeu is also excited and full of anticipation. The two beams of light dissipated, and the river god had a golden cucumber in his left hand and a silver cucumber in his right. He looked at Taewia and said with a smile, "Young girl, did you drop this golden cucumber? Or this silver cucumber? Yellow, cucumber." The anticipation on Taewia's face suddenly solidified, and he asked, "Is there only cucumber? Is there nothing else?" The river god showed an expression of, "So you are such a girl, the cucumbers are not enough for you, do you still want lotus root? That thing is drained and ventilated, it is too much robbed in the fairyland, and it is all taken by the fairies. It's sold out, and I can't get it. What kind of tiger and wolf words are these? Drain and vent? Are all the fairies robbed?" Duo Yu became more and more confused as he listened, and asked, "What on earth are you doing with this cucumber?" The river god's squinting eyes flashed with a color of human brilliance, and said with a smile, "What do you think cucumbers are used for? Can they still be eaten?" Gitong Meru and the others all turned their attention to Taewia. Cucumbers are not for eating, what else can they do? Terrified to think about. Duiwia, you made it clear to me, who messed with cucumbers. Du Yu also gritted his teeth and said, "Go away. It's not mine. I don't want it." The river god put the gold and silver cucumbers in Duyuya's hands and praised, "Young girl, for your honesty, these two cucumbers belong to you, don't be polite." Saying that, the river god turned into a ray of light and dissipated. Duoyuya, article, -- I'm polite to you old M. I will put a cucumber in your flowers, and let you hang the southeast branch by yourself. Du Yu also looked at the two, BFFG, gold and silver cucumbers in his hand, his face full of haze. Jerbe's fat face was about to become a bun, and he said, "This reward is not bad, but you have to be careful when using it. There are thorns." Ha 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 ha. Duo Yu also turned his head slowly, his face as black as the bottom of a pot. Jerbe's expression froze, and he looked down at the manga. RBQ. This author is too cruel, so many good-looking girls have died. 35 Jerb soon finished reading Zanhong's comics, and was still mourning the dead girls. System information update. Customer Jerb has finished reading / The Crimson Eyes, and obtained, the God of Protecting the Country, Supreme Throne. The God of Protecting the Country, Supreme Throne, was originally the strongest emperor, both the origin of all emperors and the culmination of all emperors. Legend has it that he has the ability to rival the gods, only those with the blood of the emperor only people can use it. The secret skill is clearing mode. The appearance of the protector of the country will become a dragon, and the power and quantity of the weapons will be greatly increased, but the user will be eroded by the taigu and become bloodthirsty. After system transformation, the winner can activate without the blood of the emperor. This reward is not bad. Shen Ye looked at Jerbe's reward message. The God of Protecting the Country is an existence standing at the apex of the emperor, and it is the emperor created by the emperor who created the emperor as the strongest trump card of the royal family. The defense and firepower were excellent, and a single blow burned thousands of revolutionary troops to ashes. But it is a pity that the little emperor will not really control this strongest emperor tool, otherwise even if Tajmi and will join forces, it will be very difficult to defeat him. Buzz one by one at this moment a dazzling light fell on Jerb. The light dissipated, and a black card appeared in Jerbe's hand. Jerb saw that he was also a card like Taeu, and asked, "Boss, what is my reward?" "The protector of the nation, the high throne." Shen Ye took a sip of black tea and said, "I don't need an introduction. Is that the strongest imperial tool?" An expression of ecstasy suddenly appeared on Jerbe's face. The God of Protecting the Country is the supreme emperor who only appeared in the final battle of the imperial capital. As soon as he appeared, he overlooked the entire imperial capital like a mountain, showing a very terrifying fire bombing, which made the revolutionary army almost desperate. A small country can be easily conquered with just this piece of imperial equipment. Even the 5 great ninja villages couldn't bear the terrifying firepower output of this Taigu. Did you actually draw this strongest imperial tool? Want to be so OO? Gerb put away the black card in ecstasy, looked at Taewia, and couldn't help but think. African chiefs, why don't you come to see the European emperor soon? Looking at Gerb who was showing off, Duo Yuya's face became more hazy. Why can this dead fat man get such a good reward, but mine is cucumber. A splendid ray of light fell at this moment, covering Kidomaru. Guidomaru in the light felt that a piece of information was gradually emerging in his mind. The light dissipates. Kidomaru excitedly asked Shen Ye, "Boss, what is my reward?" "The skill of the metal monkey beast, banana stinky fart." Shen Ye said. "What?" Gitongwan was sluggish for a moment, and then said with a frustrated face, "Banana stinky fart? What's the difference between this and ordinary farts?" Shen Ye said seriously, "There is still a difference, this one stinks more." Gitongwan _ to be so ruthless. Taewia was originally very depressed, but when he heard the reward from Gitongmaru, he felt much more pleasing to the eyes when he saw the golden cucumber and silver cucumber in his hand. Finally, the two brothers finished reading the Hokage manga. However, the faces of the brothers were full of shock. Because this comic is about the current ninja world, and it is still a future thing, even the two of them appear in the comic. In the comics, Orochimaru and Sand Shinobi attacked Konoha. Although they succeeded in killing third Hokage, their hands were also deprived by the ghouls. The 4 of them, under the orders of Orochimaru, took Sasuke away from Konoha, who was eager for power, but encountered a joint pursuit by Konoha and Sand Shinobi. The 2 of them first fought against Inyazukiya of Konoha, and were killed by Kankuro of Sand Shinobi. I just died in the comics. They sensed that this manga was not simple, and that it contained amazing secrets and unknowns, and they had to report it to Orochimaru immediately. At this time, System Information. Refresh. Chapter 0196. Customer Zojin has finished reading Hokage Ninja, Part 1 and obtained, Golden Escape, a ninjutsu invented by Bang Rizuo, the son of a jeweler in the ninja world, including all local tyrants such as crouching and picking up money for me technique, uncle's pleasure technique, etc. The main operation method is to transfer the money in Kabuto to spread out. The power of the move mainly depends on the amount of money. Non-local tyrants should use it with caution. Customer Yujin has finished reading Hokage Ninja, Part 1 and obtained Uchiha Madara's corpse. Uchiha Madara was the leader of the Uchiha clan and was extremely powerful. He founded Konohagakure with Senju Hashirama and established the current pattern of the ninja world. Together with Senju Hashirama, he is known as the god of ninjas. In the end, the two fought in the Valley of the End because they went against the path chosen by Senju Hashirama. After the Battle of the End Valley, everyone thought Uchiha Madara was dead. In fact, Uchiha Madara took the opportunity to seize Senju Hashirama's flesh and blood, and then used Izanaga's resurrection to transplant Senju Hashirama's flesh and blood into himself, opening the Rinnegan known as the strongest pupil power. Open Rinnegan's Uchiha Madara behind the scenes, carefully plan and cultivate Nagato and Obito and choose to die, waiting for Project Tsuki no Mi to start. Uchiha Madara's body? Shen Ye automatically ignored the funny reward from the left, and looked directly at the reward from the right. Unexpectedly, Uchiha actually got the body of Uchiha Madara. Uchiha Madara's body may not be a treasure to others, after all, the most important Rinnegan has been given to Nagato, but it is definitely a treasure to Orochimaru. Uchiha Madara has his own cells and Senju Hashirama's cells, which are very rare experimental materials. And Orochimaru can also use Uchiha Madara's cells, impure world reincarnation out Uchiha Madara. If so, it completely disrupts Madara and Obito's plans. Come to think of it, God still has some expectations. Uchiha Madara, who was waiting to perform Project Tsuki no Mi, found himself out of Orochimaru impure world reincarnation, and one of the two must have danced. Hum one at this time, 2 brilliant rays of light fell at the same time. The two brothers who were separated from each other were full of curiosity. If there are no surprises, their reward will be something in this ninja world. The light dissipates. Zojin felt an extra piece of information in his mind. In front of the right side, there was an extra coffin. Zojin flipped through the information in his mind and asked in amazement, "Boss, what is my reward?" Shen Ye said, "Jindun." "What kind of escape is Jindun? Is it the boundary of blood?" The left and right eyes lit up. "And Jindun?" Never heard of this name. Shen Ye thought for a while, and said, it's not wrong to say that it is the blood following the boundary, the main thing is that the family has money to let you spread it casually. Is this what it means to dare to love Jin Dun? Is it a bit too bitter for me to draw this reward? Right next to him looked at the coffin, and finally couldn't help but open it curiously. Coffin lid opened, immediately, an aura of decay came over him. Inside the coffin lay a white, pale old man whose eyes had been gouged out. But even if he has been dead for many years, there is still an invisible power on the corpse. Seeing that his reward turned out to be a corpse, he asked with an ugly face, "Boss, isn't this corpse my reward?" "Who is he?" Shen Ye said lightly, "Uchiha Madara." "Uchiha Madara?" Hearing this name, the expressions of the 5 people suddenly changed. This body turned out to be the legendary Uchiha Madara? The names of Uchiha Madara and Senju Hashirama are undoubtedly legendary for today's ninja world. Even though the two have passed away for many years, talking about them is still awe-inspiring. Zojin's eyes glowed, and he said excitedly, "I didn't expect you to get the body of Uchiha Madara. Lord Orochimaru must be very interested in this body. It's over to you, I'm going back." After Zojin finished speaking, he drilled back into Zojin's body. Zojin asked, "Boss, will you still be here in the future?" Shen Ye shook his head, "I'll leave later. If you want to read comics, you can come to Konoha to find me." "Okay then, goodbye boss." The 4 of them said goodbye and left the comic shop. Carrying the coffin, Zojin said to the 3 Taewia, "I want to bring this Uchiha Madara's body back to the village of Yunnan, and I have extremely important information to report to Orochimaru-sama. You 3 are the only ones who have gone to the Taki no country base." Point 35. As seen in the Hokage manga, he must report to Orochimaru as quickly as possible. The 3 of Taewia nodded. Zojin and the 3 of them left in 2 directions. Inside the comic shop. The branch card business hours have expired. System information appears. You have closed this branch, please select one of the rewards for all customers today, and you will get an advanced version of the reward. Today's rewards: Avery Gore, Zanpakuto Hisagomaru, Thermite Humiliation Sticker, Deep Poseidon Body, Uchiha Attack Transformation Card, Deviance Sword, Protecting the Country God Supreme Throne L0, 0 choose the Deviance Sword. Shen Ye didn't hesitate at all, and directly chose the Deviance Sword. Although the god of protecting the country is the strongest emperor, it is still a lot worse than the opposite world noble phantasm, the Deviance Sword. The Deviance Sword itself is already the top noble phantasm, claiming to have the power to sever the world. The reward of the branch card is the advanced version, and the already very powerful Deviance Sword will be upgraded to a new level. How to choose? Don't even think about it. You choose the Deviance Sword as a reward, and start to advance, you get the Sword of Good Departure. The Sword of Deviance from the World is an advanced version of the Deviance Sword, which has a more terrifying attack than the Deviance Sword. When this sword is launched, it will cause the 3 worlds of heaven, earth and underworld to rotate, which is comparable to the creation of heaven and earth, and an absolutely terrifying force of destruction erupts. Buzz one by one a brilliant light fell on Shen Ye's hand. The light dissipates. A golden ancient sword filled with blood-red stripes was revealed. The shape of the ancient sword is very similar to the deviation sword, but it is longer than the latter, and it has more of a grand and detached meaning. As if this is not a sword that mortals can master. Only a true god can completely control such a shocking sword. Shen Ye held the sword of good death. He could feel the vast power coming from the sword. As long as he wants, a sword can destroy a country, and even erase the moon from the night sky forever. This is the sword of obedient death. The noble phantasm that truly possesses the power to split the world. Gate. Chapter 0197. It's time to go back to sleep. Shen Ye waved his hand, put away the sword of obedient death, turned and walked into the black vortex. The black vortex slowly disappeared, and the comic shop also distorted time and space. Suddenly, the location changed back to its original appearance, as if the comic store never existed. Shen Ye, who returned to the comic shop, took a shower and lay down on the couch. As soon as he lay down, the black cat Yuryuaki crawled into the quilt, clinging to Shen Ye, with the kind of softness and warmth that is unique to cats. Silent all night. The next day, Shen Ye was still awake, feeling that something was pressing on him. When I opened it, it turned out to be a long, beautiful bronze leg, and the owner of this leg was still sleeping soundly. Snapped. Shen Ye tapped lightly. I don't know when Yuryuki, who changed back to human form, opened his sleepy eyes and saw Shen Ye wake up. Meow 080 suddenly feeling something, Yuryuki bounced off the couch like a spring, and said with a smile, I'm going to prepare breakfast for the master. Seeing Yuryuki, who ran away in trouble, Shen Ye smiled. If it's not already time for the store to open, you will be miserable as a little black cat, making you meow. Outside the comic shop, many people were queuing up for the comic shop to open. Jiraiya and Ebisu come. Both of them have a pair of heavy dark circles under their eyes and look vain and powerless. Jiraiya held on to her waist, making bone-rattling sounds from time to time, sighing, I am really old. When I was young, 5 minutes and 7 times were no problem, and now it's just like watching a movie. Ebisu, do you want to show off how much you are, or do you want to show off how fast you are? At this time, Jiraiya saw a young man with an inch head, holding an electronic product in his hand, watching it with relish, and couldn't help but lean over. It's okay if you don't look at it, you feel like you have opened the door to a new world. Jiraiya watched it for a while, and she was fascinated by the content of the ebook. She exclaimed, what kind of novel is this protagonist named Baiji? This plot, this writing, it's amazing. This book is also very well written. Compared with this book, My Intimacy Paradise is simply a novel of pure love. Seeing Jiraiya mentioning the novel, the young man with a small head became proud. Hey, this is the reward I got from reading one person yesterday. The boss said that this is Su-san's ebook. This book is called Xiao F by G. Are you happy? It's so cool. Jiraiya adores, it is absolutely god tier. Who wrote this book? 99 What is this? The young man with an inch head looked like Lao Zi had seen the world last night, and said, there are a lot of Aben and the concierge Uncle Chin in this ebook. But if I want to say, the most powerful one has to be Jin Lin, is it Qi Zhong? It's a wonderful thing, tisk tisk, don't you see it? Of course I did. 99 Jiraiya immediately leaned over with a heartbroken look. We are not here to read novels, we are here to learn from our peers. Learning is the ladder of human progress. Humph. What's so good about a novel? Hey? It seems a bit interesting. Wow, this part is amazing. I made up. Don't flip so fast, I haven't finished it yet. That's it, Sofu Ebisu quickly got together with the two of them. 3 big men giggled hee 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 around an ebook. Hearing the laughter of pointing the wretched attribute to max, the hairs of the customers lining up waiting for the comic shop to open were standing on end. Sure enough, the golden scale is more exciting. My Intimacy Heaven decided to copy his plot. I found that as long as the woman with a name in this book didn't run away. It turns out that your brother Tao is still your brother Tao. I like Su Ruyun. I like Ren Jinjiao, hee hee. I like He Liping and Xuanyo's mother and daughter. Hearing the unfamiliar voice of the last sentence saying mother and daughter flowers, the 3 of Jiraiya turned their heads in unison. Cough cough. Yao Lao blushed and retracted his head. MD, it's too much to watch. Konohamaru next to him said angrily, hey, Yao Lao, did you find a patient? Why did you read the novel? If you don't find the patient, we won't have the money to read comics today. Yao Lao said nonsense in a serious manner, there is something wrong with these 3 bodies in front of me. I was just inquiring about the truth. Konohamaru said with a look of contempt, this is why you like mother-daughter flowers. Cough, what do you know, I'm trying to get closer to the patient. 35 Yao Lao saw Whitebeard and Gaara approaching at this time, his eyes lit up, look, isn't this a life now? Whitebeard carried a pheasant knife and walked like a tiger. With a height of nearly 7 meters, the criss-crossing scars in front of Hungary, coupled with the terrifying murderous aura naturally revealed during the half-life battle, it was daunting. Whitebeard looked at the comic shop in front of him and smiled, this is the first time I read comics at such a young age, and I still read One Piece comics. It's really interesting. Gaara reminded, Dad, don't get too excited when you read comics. Whitebeard is full of hanging bottles in the comics. Although the current Whitebeard is stronger than in the manga, it is not much better. He was very worried that when Whitebeard saw Ace being caught by Blackbeard, his emotions were up and down, which would affect his health. Goo la 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 la, don't worry, my health is fine. Whitebeard showed a confident smile, I've been a pirate all my life, what kind of storms have I never seen before? Gaara said, when I go back to Sunagakure, I will find Sand Shinobi's best medical ninja, Choin Law, and she should have a solution. He knew that with Whitebeard's status in the world of pirates, he would not be able to find any doctor he wanted, but he still couldn't change his state, indicating that Whitebeard's condition was not very serious. But as long as there is hope, he will not give up. Yao Lao came over at this time and smiled lightly, this fellow deist, but I feel pain in my left shoulder, will it worsen when the weather is wet? The lower part of the right lung often feels like a worm biting pain. Atave. Yao Yao told about more than a dozen symptoms of Whitebeard's body in one breath. Whitebeard's expression gradually changed from suspicion to shock. Because, the symptoms on his body are exactly the same as what the other party said, but he is obviously seeing the other party for the first time. Does the other party only see this when they meet? How can that be? Whitebeard's expression darkened. What do you want to say? Yao Lao smiled and said, you have too many old diseases. They have followed you for decades. Even with the medical ninjutsu of this ninja world, there is no way to cure them. However, I have a way. Chapter 0198. Hearing Yao Lao said that Whitebeard's disease can be cured, Gaara immediately said, if you can really cure Dad's body, as long as it is within my power, I can promise you anything. There was a soft light in Whitebeard's eyes. Yao Lao smiled and said, today I can refine a healing medicine pill, and then prescribe a few more medicines, and I will be cured in less than a week. 39 Konohamaru said next to him, hey, as for the medical expenses, you just need to pay the money for reading the comics for the past 2 days, no problem. Gaara heard Konohamaru say that it was only the money for reading the comics, and agreed without hesitation, saying, the money for reading the comics today is the deposit, as long as the old man's illness can be cured, I will pay you the money for reading the comics next time. 99 Make a deal. Konohamaru smiled. Whitebeard said, Gaara. Gaara said, Dad, I only have you who care about me, I will make you healthy. Whitebeard shook his head with a smile while moving in his heart, and said, I'm not the only one who cares about you, idiot son. In fact, yesterday your sister was afraid that you would be in danger, and has been secretly protecting you. 35 With Whitebeard's observation haki, Temari has been discovered from the start. What? Gaara was startled. He didn't expect that Temari would secretly protect him. At this moment, the long-awaited comic shop door finally opened. As soon as Shen Ye opened the door, he saw a green light in his eyes looking at him, and said, line up and enter. The door is finally open. 99 When I saw the boss's face, I was suddenly moved, why is it swollen? I've been waiting for 2 full hours. 2 hours, 2? 3 hours here. Here at 3 in the morning, everyone, kneel. Customers lined up enthusiastically to enter the store. They are all praying secretly, and I will give myself a bounty X reward today. Shen Ye sat at the cashier to collect money. Soon, the number of people met the conditions for drawing 2 comics. Seeing so many people, Shen Ye will soon run out of comics, and said to the system, extract comics. Start extracting, extract the comic, Swordsman, Ling Huchang, the eldest disciple of Huashan School, and Yu Lingshan, the only daughter of the head Yu Buchan, were childhood sweethearts. But with Lin Pingzi's homage, Yu Lingshan moved away. Ling Huchang violated the rules because of his love and was punished for thinking about the cliff face for a whole year, but he accidentally peeked at the stone carvings in the dark cave behind the cliff, learned the secrets of the swordsmanship of the 5 Mountain Sword Sect, and met Feng Qingyang, the senior of Huashan Sword Sect, who taught Dogu 9 swords. Start extracting, extracted comics, Do Sol, Part 2 Do Po Part 2. The young man who was ridiculed by everyone as a waste of the Xiao family back then shouted 30 years of Hedong, 30 years of Hexi, don't bully the poor. 3 years have passed in the blink of an eye, and the young man has now come to Cloud Lanzong to fulfill his 3-year contract. Nalan Yanran could not have imagined that the person who cured her grandfather and won the championship at the Yakushi refining conference was actually the waste of the Xiao family who was divorced by her back then. Xiao Yan could not have imagined that the Yunzi he met in the Warcraft Mountains was actually Yun King Yun, the sect master of the Yunlin sect. He never imagined that when he returned home after winning the 3-year contract, the Xiao family had already been destroyed. Xiao Yan returned to the Blue Cloud sect with anger. Swordsman is a manga adapted from Master Jin's novel. The most famous among them are the various self-palaces. Who is the peak on the road from the palace, when I see the east road becomes empty? There's also part 2 of the fighting spirit. The core force of this comic is here. Even the final battle with the Soul Heaven Emperor is not as exciting as the 3-year contract. And Yao Lao also came today, you can see his 2 apprentices fighting in the comics. Shen Ye smiled at the 2 newly drawn comics. The Swordsman is a comic adapted from a martial arts novel, and its level of strength is slightly inferior to that of the Tianlong Babu, which has an earlier background. But this book is the first martial art from the palace. No one knows the phrase if you want to practice this skill, you must first go to the palace. Dongfang Invincible, Yu Buchan, and Lin Pingzi's spirit of self-improvement makes people feel cold when they think about it. The second manga of Dopo is about Xiao Yan's victory in the 3-year contract of the Yunlin sect, finding that the Xiao family was destroyed and returning to the Yunlin sect, then going to Jianan College and changing to a larger map to continue Pretend B's story. My Emperor Yan was either pretending to be B all my life, or on the way to pretending to be B. Even if Do's own Yunshan chases and kills you, don't need to worry, because Yunshan's horse is definitely not as fast as his. Shen Ye remembered the TV series adapted from Dopo in his previous life. What Do Huang, what Do Zong, let you be unparalleled in the world, you can't do it without a moment. I have a horse, and I will be angry with all the fighting emperors in the world. Customers lined up to enter the store, quickly arriving at Whitebeard and Gara. Whitebeard looked at the door that was not even a leg high, and said embarrassedly, "Boss, can I look outside?" 35R comics are not allowed to be taken out of the comic store. Shen Ye waved his hand after saying that. Whitebeard appeared directly in the comic shop like a spatial displacement, and his height also became more than 2 meters. Whitebeard looked at Shen Ye with a look of shock on his face. The owner of the comic shop directly moved himself into the comic shop, without even a chance to resist. Even his own body was changed. What kind of terrifying method is this? Almost 080 God. The owner of this comic shop is as rumored, and his strength is unfathomable. Gara was also shocked by what Shen Ye did casually. But thinking that the manga shop owner can even summon Father Whitebeard from the world of pirates, this seems to be nothing. Gara pointed to Yao Lao and Konohamaru behind him and said, "There are 2 of them together. You are here for the second time, Whitebeard is here for the first time, Yao Lao is here for the second time, Konohamaru is here for the 4th time, a total of 65,000 taels. 99 The old god Shen Ye is talking." Gara took out 65,000 taels and put them at the cashier, and walked into the comic shop. Whitebeard saw that the book Pirates, Grand Line that he wanted to read the most was still picked up on the bookshelf, with a wave in his eyes, "Did I come from this comic? And about Ace, gu la la la, I was actually looking forward to it." Whitebeard took the pirate comic and sat down in his seat. Gara picked out the remaining books, choosing fairy tale comics to sit next to Whitebeard. Yao Lao and Konohamaru also walked into the comic shop. Konohamaru said expectantly, "Does the boss have any good new comics?" Yao Lao next to him stroked his beard lightly. "Of course there is." Shen Ye smiled and took out the copy of Dopo, Part 2 from under the cash register. "There is a new version of Dopo 2 here, do you want to watch it?" Chapter 0199. The second part of Dopo has come out. Seeing the Dopo comic in Shen Ye's hand, Konohamaru's eyes suddenly lit up and he was surprised. Yesterday's first episode of Dopo, I just saw Xiao Yan Shangyun Lanzong going to the most exciting place, the 3-year appointment, and it suddenly disappeared. 3 years of hard training, 3 years of hardships, just for this battle to wash away the shame. As a result, it disappeared as soon as it took off, and I asked you if it was uncomfortable. Unexpectedly, the second part of Dopo came out today. Now we can finally see Xiao Yan Shangyun Lanzong's Pretend B plot. Your friend Xiao Bioang is online. It just depends on how Xiao Bingwang hangs and beat Bai Fumei, stunned a group of bigwigs, ha 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 ha. It's fun to think about. Even Yao Lao, who was brushing his beard next to him, suddenly widened his eyes. Do Soul Part 2 coming out so soon? In the comics, is Xiao Yan, who has been teaching him for 3 years, finally pretending to be a big B? Moreover, Xiao Yan will go to Jianan College next, and he may meet his former rebel Han Tianfeng. Thinking of this, Yao Lao was actually a little excited. Yao Lao and Konohamaru said in unison, "Just look at this book. It doesn't need to be considered at all." One old man and one young man were holding Dopo comics and looked like they were squeezing their heads. Finally, it was Jiraiya and Ebisu's turn, as well as the short-headed youth. The short-headed youth put away the e-book and took out the money. Ebisu suddenly leaned into the ear of the 1-inch-headed youth and whispered, you go to my house later. 35 Hearing this, the young man with an inch head shivered with fright. Brother, why do you take it seriously when you read a novel? I'm not that. The corners of Ebisu's mouth twitched. What are you thinking? Who is looking for you? I mean transfer those golden scales, Aben, Baiji, and Baiji from your ebook to my computer, hehe. Speaking of which, Ebisu showed a smile that a man could understand, and said, I can pass you a few videos with sound and pictures. Nanny. The young man with an inch head was also excited when he heard it. Jiraiya and Ebisu and the young man with short head paid the money to choose comics on the bookshelf. Jiraiya was taken aback when she saw the Hokage manga on the shelf. Hokage Ninja? That cover is Minato's child, right? Jiraiya immediately recognized Naruto on the cover as 4th Hokage's son. And Naruto on the cover is probably also the reason why this comic has been on the bookshelf, but was not chosen. After all, most of the people in the village rejected Naruto very much. I just read this book. Jiraiya picked up the Hokage manga and sat down in her seat. I can't read that kind of comics anymore, my body can't stand it anymore, let's take a look at this kind of normal adjustment. Ebisu picked up Shen Ye's new book, Zioao Jianghu, and said to himself, this book should be good. 99 The young man with an inch head narrowed his eyes and took the Sailor Moon manga with a smile. Soon, the comics in the comic store are sold out. Outside the comic shop, customers who had no comics to read had to queue up in frustration. At this time, Yuryuaki came over with the prepared breakfast. Shen Ye frowned as he looked at the black thing on the plate. This look. Sure enough, Shihaoran's head is not very good at cooking. Shen Ye took a sip and his eyes lit up. Although it doesn't look good on the outside, the taste is really good. Yuryuaki, with a look of compliment on his face, asked, how is it? Master. The taste is all right, it would be even better if the appearance could be improved next time. Hee, obey. Getting a positive evaluation from Shen Ye, Yuryuaki blinked and stuck out his tongue. It's really cute to make this expression even though it's Oni-san. Yuryuaki turned back into a black cat and lay on Shen Ye's lap. Shen Ye fed Yuryuaki a piece of food from time to time, and the cat's tongue felt itchy when touching the fingertips. Gula-la-la-la. Whitebeard looked at the pirate comics and smiled. This Straw Hat Luffy really has 2 hits, he actually discovered the weakness of Crocodile's sand fruit, and defeated the Logia ability before Master Armament Haki. However, Crocodile, the kid, has really regressed too much in Alabasta, and he will never be defeated like this before. Back then he was tied with the bullet on Roger's boat. But after a little lesson, he should be able to wake up. Whitebeard is quite positive about Luffy, the main character of the comics. While on the boat, Whitebeard often heard Ace mention his brother Luffy. And the straw hat on Luffy's head. Although the straw hat looks unremarkable, it is Roger's most cherished item. Roger passed the straw hat to Shanks, and Shanks passed the straw hat to Luffy. And from the performance in the comics, Luffy really deserves the weight of this straw hat. As for Crocodile, he is also familiar with it. Crocodile entered the New World when he was young. Relying on his ability to be Logia, he was arrogant and arrogant. He once challenged him, but he naturally taught him a good lesson. And when he saw Ace debut in Alabasta, Whitebeard's eyes showed tenderness. Ace looks a lot like him when he was younger. Stubborn character, unwilling to admit defeat, clear grievances. He also does hope that Ace can be his successor in the future, if there is no teach thing. The other side, Jiraiya was completely shocked by the contents of the Hokage manga when she read it. In the comics, it is actually a matter of the ninja world. And the main character is Naruto. In the comics, I also taught Naruto summoning technique. This is what shocked Jiraiya the most. Because he really had this idea in his heart, he had to teach him when he met Naruto, at least not without the strength to fight against a strong enemy. But no matter what ninjutsu wants to show its true power, it is not something that can be done in a short time. Only summoning technique is an exception. So the first technique he intends to teach Naruto is summoning technique. It's definitely not a coincidence that Jian's comics coincide with his ideas. In fact, on the issue of Naruto, he is somewhat dissatisfied with Sarutobi Hiruzen. The moment when the female Jinchuriki is giving birth is the weakest seal. In order to prevent people with ulterior motives, Kushina of 9 Tails Jinchuriki was protected by layers during childbirth. But a mysterious masked man suddenly appeared. Although Namikaze Minato rescued Naruto, his wife was taken away by the mysterious masked man. The mysterious masked man released 9 taels inside Kushina to destroy Konoha. He was traveling abroad at the time. No one knows that he has been traveling for many years because Toad Sage once made a prophecy to him. In the future, he will meet a son of destiny who can change the ninja world. This son of destiny will bring unprecedented peace or destruction to the future of the ninja world. There will come a day when he will be forced to choose whether to lead the world towards peace or destruction. Chapter 0200. He has been away for many years in order to find the son of destiny predicted by Toad Sage. Until the Second Ninja World War, he met Nagato with Rin-Egan in the Land of Rain. He thinks Nagato will be the son of destiny who can change the ninja world. So he took Yahiko, Nagato, and Konan as his disciples and taught them to practice ninjutsu. But when he went back to them many years later, he heard that the 3 Nagato were dead. He had no choice but to leave Konoha and continue to look for the son of destiny in the prophecy. At that time, Namikaze Minato, who was fighting against 9 taels and the mysterious masked man, could only use the ghoul seal to seal 9 taels into Naruto's body at the cost of his own life. It was the sacrifice of the Namikaze Minato couple that ended the 9 taels rebellion. However, Sarutobi Hiruzen regained control of Konoha after the fact. Naruto, the widow of Namikaze Minato's husband and wife, grew up in the neglect of the villagers and lived in difficult living conditions. Jiraiya soon stopped thinking about it and continued reading the Hokage manga. He had a hunch that this comic would contain astonishing secrets that would shock the entire ninja world. The 3-year contract is over. Nalan Yanran, Xiao Yan in the Do Soul comic lightly looked at Nalan Yanran, who was already powerless to fight, and slapped it with the palm of his hand. Nalan Yanran vomited blood and retreated. This also announced the end of the 3-year covenant. Xiao family Xiao Yan, win. Yao Lao 080 and Konohamaru were addicted to their hearts. Xiao Yan must give 101 points for this spiral ascension 360 degrees without dead ends, and the extra point is not afraid of pride. After the earth-shattering pretending to be B, let me say something lightly, this method is really too irritating. In the competition where the powerhouses of the empire gathered, no matter who it was, Xiao Yan would definitely lose this battle. After all, compared to Nalan Yanran, the young sect master of the Yunlin sect, the first power in the empire, who was sitting on endless resources, Xiao Yan, who came from a small family, was really not worth mentioning. As a result, Xiao Yan suppressed Nalan Yanran as soon as she came up. Nalan Yanran continued to use all kinds of unique tricks, all kinds of melon eaters were shocked, Xiao Yan was stronger, and all kinds of melon eaters were even more shocked. In addition, Xiao Yan's identity as Yan Xiao, who won the championship at the Yakushi Refining Conference, was exposed. Pil King Guhi recognized Xiao Yan as the one who took away King Lian's heart fire. Yun Lanzong also recognized that Xiao Yan was the mysterious master who killed Mo Cheng and repelled Do Huang. The various foreshadowings that were buried before erupted like a volcanic eruption, which was so refreshing that people could not stop. Konohamaru clenched his fists excitedly, Xiao Yan is so handsome. This is the 30 years of Hedong and 30 years of Hexi. Yao Lao looked at Xiao Yan, who he taught in the comics, who had won the 3-year contract. He stroked his beard and said with a smile, this child's costume B is quite a bit of the old man's style. Yao Lao and Konohamaru continued to watch. The following plot twists and turns even more. Xiao Yan found that the Xiao family had been destroyed, and went to the Yunlin sect to ask for an explanation, but met Yun Qingyun, the sect master of the Yunlin sect. The two discovered the true identity of each other at the same time, and another cool point in front of them came out. At this time, the former suzerain Yun Shan took action to arrest Xiao Yan, and Xiao Yan offered a Buddha's anger lotus to this beautiful world. As a result, Xiao Yan found that Duzong's strong man was so terrifying, he couldn't kill Yunshan, he could only fight a bloody way to escape. The plot of Gao Chao is also thrilling, and it is seen that Yao Lao and Konohamaru are enthusiastic. And Ebisu, who was sitting at the next table, looked at Xiao Jianghu and saw the 6 immortals of Dogu. 6 immortals of Dogu? Ebisu turned his head and asked Shen Ye, boss, what is the relationship between Dao Liuxian and Dao Erika? Shen Ye, who had just finished breakfast, twitched the corners of his mouth. You can think of it all together, your AV's poison is not light. Shen Ye coughed, probably the 7th immortal of Dogu. Ebisu praised, Peach Valley is really a good place to be talented. With that said, Ebisu turned his head and asked the young man with a small head, by the way, I don't know what your name is, brother. 35 The one-inch-headed youth who was watching the Sailor Moon manga excitedly said casually, Hitano Road. Ebisu was startled, what's your relationship with Hitano Ui? At this moment, the young man with an inch head raised his head and said in amazement, do you know my sister? Hitano Ui is your sister? 99 Ebisu sucked in a breath of cold air, patted Hitano Luzi on the shoulder, and said, Luzi, then you have to be more careful in the future. BFFG, never let your sister do the professions of teacher, doctor, nurse, investigator, librarian. Don't make her wait for a plumber, a delivery man or something. Also be careful with your neighbors next door and downstairs, and your classmates. Most importantly, you have to watch out for your dad. You have to pay attention to yourself, keep your distance from your sister, and don't let your sister make up lessons for you. There's only so much I can help you with. Hitano Road, what are you talking about? Why didn't I understand a word? Holding the One Piece manga, Whitebeard soon sees Ace and Blackbeard teach dueling on Panama Island. The Logia Maramara fruit, which Ace relies on most, was completely suppressed in front of Teach. Although the ability was suppressed by Teach, Ace still fought with physical skills. The seemingly obese Teach body technique is also quite powerful. After all, even the iconic 3 scars on the 4 emperor's red-haired left eye were left by Blackbeard. Although the redhead back then was not as powerful as he is now, if he didn't have enough strength, it would be impossible to hurt him like this. Ace is at a disadvantage. Teach sends an invitation to Ace, asking Ace to join him. Facing Teach's invitation, Ace smiled, if you succumb to evil, a man will lose the dignity of living, and I will never leave a stain on my life. Seeing Ace rejecting him, Teach used Dark Fruit's strongest ability. Ace also used Entei, the strongest Maramara fruit. Ace held a blazing fireball like the sun in his hand, and the last words he said were, I will make Whitebeard the king of the sea. 99 As soon as the screen turned, only Ace's hat fell. There is also a paragraph on the comic page, the duel between 2 pirates on Panama Island is known as the fuse of the subsequent big event. Ace, you stupid son. Seeing that Ace was defeated by Teach, Whitebeard's expression darkened, and he clenched his fists subconsciously. Ace lost and was used by Teach in exchange for the position of Takeshi 7 Seas. As a father, it is impossible for him not to be sad. But Ace did what he was supposed to do. Even if he loses, even if he dies, Ace is worthy of the pirate flag behind him. As for the big events that will happen in the future written in the comics, he also guessed it. Ace is caught, he will definitely save it. Whether it is in naval headquarters, in Impertang Grand Prison, or even Marie Joy's in the center of world government, he will definitely save him. Just like Ace is going to hunt down Teach no matter what. Teach killed the people on the boat and escaped, and he had to be chased back by Ace, the captain of Teach. That's Ace's responsibility. And to save his son, it is also his responsibility that Whitebeard must take on. They are all the same kind of people who can give up their lives with a smile, but can never give up morality in their hearts. If you enjoyed this video, please give it a like and subscribe to the channel so you are notified of future uploads. You can find the next parts in the playlist visible on the screen or on my channel. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you in the next one.